every single Reiki session that she does is specific crystals. So
Yeah,
Reiki is
great.
absolutely involved
That's her style. That's
from
her style. As someone,
I'm sorry, I'm not done talking. From the bottom up, Reiki absolutely involves crystals. And so what these studies
it does
show
not.
is that as again, the manipulative form of Reiki is basically a soft massage. What they do is they do a gentle manipulation of the temple area, they do a gentle manipulation of the neck or the stomach area. And this obviously, what does this do? This releases endorphins, serotonin, into the body, which absolutely reduces levels of cortisol and things like that. And absolutely. And if they want to call this something other than soft massage, it's completely fine. But what this doesn't show is the efficacy of the crystals. This doesn't show that energy is being transferred from a crystalline object to the body in any form of
How
a
about if we
way.
do this? If it's all right, we can just limit the talk to the kind of Reiki or Reiki. How do you pronounce it? Reiki?
Yeah.
Reiki that doesn't involve crystals, since Sugar
No,
isn't interested in defending that
no.
part.
And that's just going to be massage. That's all it is. It's just massage.
They do not touch you.
They
You hold your
absolutely do.
hands. You hold your hands 4 inches or 2 inches from the
They
person's
absolutely
skin.
do touch. They absolutely do touch.
This shows you're ignorant. I'm tired of listening to you talk about something you're ignorant on.
Oh,
Clearly,
but hold on, that's not necessary.
Yeah, we don't need the name calling, Sugar. It's not
But
appropriate.
let's just figure out what all we want to decide we're talking about. So, Sugar, why don't you explain what you mean by Reiki, and maybe we can limit the discussion that way to just that kind of thing.
talking about Reiki, where they hold your hands. You're not massaging. There's no massage going on. You're holding your hands in a sequence of positions, all right? And you're transferring energy to these people. This practice is accepted and practiced by John Hopkins Hospital, Mayo Clinic Hospital. Up to 800 hospitals, including the top 60 in the United States of America. If you are in these hospitals and you ask for a Reiki practitioner, they will bring one to you. And they don't do that because it is some sham snake oil treatment. Okay? If you were in those same hospitals and you asked for something that was some sort of snake oil treatment, they would not give it to you.
So
they give it to
That's
you.
not true.
That is
not
true.
true.
If I went to a hospital right now and asked for cocaine, they would not give that to me.
So real quick,
so you went to that. No, hold on.
Yeah, so
that's a move in the goalpost. You can ask for all sorts of stuff that isn't helpful, and they will give you access to it. I use an example that all hospitals have.
But who's to say what isn't helpful?
Let him finish, please. He's got an example.
Oh no. Well, no. I was actually I muted then. I was done. I actually was going to ask, because you make a good point, Helena. So who's Sugar? I'd be happy to say, let's just everyone quiet for a second, then describe what Reiki is, so at least we're talking about the same thing.
I was actually going to read. This is from the study that I posted, because Sugar hasn't posted anything, but I did. And so this is a synopsis of what Reiki is. Reiki was developed by Mikao Usui in Japan in the 1920s. It is a relaxing form of healing therapy that is applied through non-invasive, non-manipulative, gentle touch. Reiki involves lightly laying hands just above or on the clothed body, working over the front and back in a slow progression of hand positions. Reiki has no religious doctrine and is accepted by people from all backgrounds and beliefs. So one of the key defining features of Reiki is the ability to practice is conferred through an attunement process and is not dependent on any innate personal healing capacity.
Yeah, I'm just tired of listening to you that know nothing about this practice at all.
I do have knowledge of this
now,
practice.
I've posted a meta study from PubMed where they examined 7 of the most prominent Reiki studies that have been done, including many double blind. And the conclusion of the meta study in PubMed, as you can see very clearly in chat, is that it is very effective, better than placebo, very real.
I gotta go
So,
pick up your
case closed. I win. This is the reason that you can get it in John Hopkins Hospital. You can get it in Mayo Clinic. The reason you can do that is because it's real, it's effective. You guys are the same sheeple people that 20 years ago would have laughed at meditation and yoga, and now
I
realize that,
still
oh my
laugh at
God,
meditation and yoga, to be honest.
yes, you're the same people that would have laughed in Western society at meditation and yoga 20 years ago. And now you're all on the bandwagon. You're all on the fucking bandwagon. All right. And you're going to be on the bandwagon with this in another 10 or 20 years.
If we
So
could
once
just
again,
set aside
I'm
the
tired.
personal effect for a moment. I don't, like, again, I'm actually asking because I want to know sort of your impression of what it is. And I actually want to discuss what it is that you're defending as something. Now, all I'm hearing, and by the way, I don't know if Reiki actually helps people sort of develop a sense of calm in their life, but you're the only one who's shouting and name calling and insulting and declaring victory. So if you could dial that down, we can actually talk about what you want to talk about. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
I think
this
that's
is
a
the
good idea.
passion. This is the passion of justice. All right. And
We
when
love your
take,
passion.
and when you take
Okay.
vanguard positions and you have to fight against 7 people, when you have to drag sheeple by the collar into this future, you know, you need a lot of
Yeah.
passion.
Okay. So my request
So
to lay out
once again, Martin Luther King wasn't some deranged individual. He was passionate
So,
about justice and truth.
again, you know, I've presented information about what Reiki is. I know
I'm looking through that. So it looks like Sugar's thinking that what Sugar is talking about is and I've heard of this, where they hover their hands, they never actually touch you. I've seen other definitions where it's a kind of like light touch massage. So what I'm trying to figure out is what was done in these studies. Was it a light touch massage or was it the hovering thing?
And do people know when they're hovering over them and when they're not?
Oh, you feel it. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous.
I'm not
You can
asking.
feel.
Trust me, I'm not asking you.
Oh.
But what I'm interested in, Helena, is in these studies, even if they never touch and if it's not a light massage, if they're hovering, if the patient knows that somebody is when they're hovering over them and when they're not.
Okay, I'll look for that as well.
Does that make sense? Like if I see somebody
Absolutely.
hovering, I mean, it seems like it could.
I would I would imagine there's I would expect that at least in one study they would try to do it so the patients were unaware, but I haven't found it yet.
I mean, what more do I have to do? I've posted you a meta study from PubMed.
I'm looking through that.
I've posted you articles on how 800 hospitals and 60 of the top in the country all offer it to patients. What more do you want me? I've given you UCLA's endorsement of this, UCLA Medicine's endorsement of this practice. What more can I do?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. First of all, we want to get clear if you're talking about laying of hands or not. And then after we get that clear, we can figure out which studies apply. And then another interesting question is, if we presume that whichever one you want to talk about actually does show like increases in parasympathetic response or something like that, it'd be interesting to speculate over what's working there.
The power of touch, energy, and yes, exactly, on the nervous system, on the human being. It's very Eastern, and
What's touch energy? Is it touching or is it not touching?
Very energetic. I've seen it done both ways, but the way you're trained is to not, quite touch. Even though some people don't have very strong hands, you can do it. It's not a big deal. But the point is to counter Kathleen, what she was saying. No one in a million years would ever confuse Reiki with massage. Like, they're just very different. Now, does massage have the power have to do with energy and touch too? Yes. Reiki is different. Some genius monk had some psychedelic experiences out in the woods, probably talked with some sort of afterlife thing or whatever. And this afterlife thing told him that if you touch the body in this certain sequence of ways, it has an incredible benefit. And this is true. So I can't lie. I think the origin of this practice is religious. I think it came from a monk who was out in the woods on some 30-day fast meditation, and then had this psychedelic experience, and that's where he came up with it. A deity appeared to him and said, touch the body in this sequence and this ways, holding your hands like this. And it works. It fucking works. But I mean, the same thing with yoga poses. Every yoga pose we know, most of the meditation chants and practices we know, all these things came from yogis blitzed out of their minds. With
There might
religious
have been,
experience.
were there golden plates involved? I think this story sounds familiar.
Yeah, so once again, every single yoga pose that you guys go and do came from a yogi blitzed out on a meditation trance. All right.
Okay, hold on. What
most
is
of
a
the
double
yogic-
blind? Hold on. What's a double blind? How is the Reiki practitioner blinded? I don't understand that part.
where the doctor is also blind and the control.
Oh, they're monks that are doing it. That's what they mean by blind.
No.
No, Helena, can you explain it to me?
I'm
probably-
not seeing that the Reiki masters were blind.
I'm just joking. Hold on.
Yeah. Well,
No,
this,
I
yeah,
think
well, this
that
was,
Sugar suggested that though. Go ahead.
well, this was a point I was trying to address and ask about earlier during the sort of earlier shout fest, and I kind of gave up on it. That the declaration that, oh well, this has been double blind tested and therefore boom done, it's first off not true, right? You need to kind of look at the study and see what they're actually studying and what their conclusions were, not what some third or fourth hand person tells you. Plus, I'm utterly baffled at the suggestion that this could be done. Like, what is meant by double blind in this context? Do you have some people that are getting Reiki and other people that are not, and they don't know if they are or not, or you know,
Wait,
Yes,
hold on.
it looks like
that's
most
why
of
I
them.
asked. That's
Sorry,
why I
go
asked
ahead.
specifically, what features are they being blinded? Like that's.
Wait,
It looks
hold on,
like
I
the
wanna-
assignment of patients to the control to the various groups was done randomly, and neither the patient nor the doctor knew whether the person doing the massage was actually a Reiki master or a sham Reiki nurse.
Okay, that
Yeah.
one sentence right there, Sugar, you need to listen to stuff like that. That one
Wait,
sentence
I
from
wanna-
Helena, who's not even arguing her position. That one sentence answered my question.
Wait, hold on.
So-
I want to
so it's
address something you
comparing-
said.
Yeah, it answered nothing. You're
Hold
just
on.
still
Oh,
being
yeah.
ignorant.
Hold on. Real
No,
quick, I
there's
just wanna
two
address-
ways that things are
Michael?
blinded. One second, Concrete. The first sort of quote blind is that the people assigning patients to different groups don't know what they're assigning patients to. And then the second one is that the patients themselves don't know and neither do the researchers, which masseuse is actually a professional Reiki and which one is, a cohort or a sham Reiki.
And it's that feature. It's the second thing you said, Helen, is exactly what it is. We say, what are they being blinded to? That's why I went to a very specific example of a pill that is nothing but binder versus a pill that is binder plus the drug. Right. So now you said what it was. There is a practitioner in the room, but one of them is, a real Reiki, and the other one is a sham Reiki. That's
right.
the feature I was asking about. Yeah.
And then some of these studies have a control group where there was no intervention whatsoever, no massage type intervention at all. So, but the results are kind of mixed. Like not every single one of them is showing an increase only with the legit Reiki, but there are some that are. But it's a relatively minor effect, but it's not harmful or anything.
Those are people.
Yeah.
Those
Wait,
are
hold on. Is my
people.
mic working?
Yes, go
Those-
ahead, Concrete.
Those are people reporting greater well-being, which means that they knew.
Well, I
Now-
think I haven't found a study. I'm sorry, Concrete. Let me say this real quick, and then I promise you can go. I haven't found one yet where, somehow they managed to make the patients unaware that there was someone in there massaging them of any sort. So it's going to be hard to know if just having someone there caring for you, officially or something will help your, parasympathetic kick in and help you feel more relaxed and more calm. But in the ones where there was a parasympathetic response, there was one where there was sham Reiki versus Master Reiki, and there was an improvement only in the Master Reiki group, but it was a small effect improvement.
And I quote from the meta study that I'm linking, where they did
Brenda, you
13.
can go after.
There were 13 peer-reviewed studies published between 1998 and 2006 that met our criteria. 4 randomized single-blind studies and 7 randomized double-blind studies. Oh my God! All human participants, 1 with rats. Conclusion: Reiki is better than placebo and in a very effective complementary medicine. Suck a dick.
Okay, Brenda, you were going to say something. Or I'm sorry, I think it was it Brenda or Concrete? I'm sorry, I've honestly forgotten. Okay, Concrete. What was
I
it?
think Concrete wanted to go. Yeah. Oh, he's not here?
Looks like he's trying to talk. Concrete, if you're trying to talk, nobody can hear you.
It's the control study of
There's
concrete.
a 2011 meta study on healing energy with cancer. It's a review. I published it above.
Yes, and
The
what do you have to
conclusion
say
is
about my
the
2017
conclusion
meta study?
the conclusion is the existing research does not allow conclusions regarding the efficacy
And what about my
effectiveness
2017
of
meta
energy
study?
healing. Future studies should adhere to existing standards of research.
Great, you
Is
have an
that what happened?
outdated meta study. I have a 2017 meta study that says Reiki is better than placebo. It has
Can I
been
read something?
proven it is effective more than placebo for reducing pain, anxiety, depression, improving quality of life. It is proved effective for the parasympathetic nervous system as measured by reduced heart rate, reduced blood pressure, and increased heart rate variability. These effects are probably
Yeah,
due to the
there's
vagus nerve and
Wait.
parasympathetic nervous system.
Okay, hold on. Can I read part of this for you, Sugar?
You're good.
Okay, so the first sentence, maybe you covered this already. If you go down in the 2017 study by McManus, right, the one that you just linked,
Yeah.
under methods, the first paragraph says 4 selection criteria were applied to Reiki studies for inclusion in this review. First, only studies of hands-on Reiki were considered. While distance healing is considered to be a valid Reiki technique, there are currently too few published studies to draw statistical conclusions.
I agree. You're confused what they mean by distance Reiki. Distance Reiki means like you're in another fucking state and you're doing it on the phone.
So hands-on Reiki, it can include
Yes.
hoverboarding.
Yes, it means hoverboarding.
I don't think so.
It means hoverboarding. Once again, why do you say that, Brent? I'm sorry, Helena. Why do you say you don't think so? Who do you think knows
because
more? Who do you think knows more about this? Someone that's been practicing Reiki for years and has certified, or you that has been reading a couple articles about it?
I don't mean to say that there is no such thing as hands-off Reiki. I just mean to say that I think that probably the interpretation that research study wants people to have isn't that they were using their hover hands, they just weren't doing it by the phone. I think they mean that this was a hands-on version of Reiki where you actually make contact with the
100%
with the
wrong.
patient's
You are
skin.
100%
I
wrong.
think
And I can
jazz
tell you,
hands
when they
has
say
better
distance,
success.
when they say distance Reiki, they mean something very specific. And as someone who's very knowledgeable on, been in this game for a long time, I can tell you very specifically what they mean. Okay, and it means you're in a different fucking state. You're talking to them on the phone. That's what they mean. There are many people that do that. I'm not with that, and I've offered no science to,
So I see.
back that
Well,
up.
you might be correct, but
I am
don't.
correct.
Wait. Just chill the fuck out, Sugar. So you might be correct, but it doesn't say in here for sure if they were touching and when they were touching, and they didn't. If I look at hands-on Reiki, I see it's a therapy often described as palm healing or hands-on body healing in which a practitioner places hands lightly on or above a patient's body. Now,
Okay.
so I don't see in here where it disambiguates between the two in the study. That's my point.
Yeah, first of all, there are. Do you know that there's 4 different schools of Reiki? Like everything,
Why
it
does
always
that matter? Hold on.
everything
Why is that
evolves
going to
because
matter?
let me tell you, the Harishu, the kind that I studied under, you have to hover. All right. Now they say that
I
you
don't
get
care.
tired, then you cannot hover. But they're very into the hovering, and I personally am into the hovering. I've tried a bunch of different things of this, but there are many other schools that aren't into the hovering. But it's not important. Even if
It
you
is
didn't,
important.
even if you didn't do the hovering, no one would confuse this with a massage.
It doesn't matter.
You're holding your hands in perfect stillness. There is
Right.
no
Look,
massage.
If
There's
somebody,
no
Okay.
massage of anything.
I used to be a hoverer.
Well, I understand. The idea is to transfer your positive energy to the other person by concentrating and having that energy go through your body. And
Yes.
I understand. So we
And
don't
you have
mean
to
to
do it.
say that we just think it's massage.
That's the
and
most
I never
beautiful
said
way.
that it was just a massage, by
Yeah,
the
well,
way.
good.
I'm not
Don't
saying
say
it
that.
is. What
Have
I'm
to inside
asking,
that.
and I have been asking, is if it was hands-on body. Because it's it would be very interesting to me if a person knew when a person was hovering their hands over them, not on them, but over them, without knowing that they were present, but they could somehow sense via some kind of bodily energy that there was a hand hovering
Oh,
over them.
wow.
That would be incredibly.
You really are in the Stone Age. Well, this is easy. You can do it to yourself right now. Just take your two hands.
No,
and
I
hover-
can't. Do you know
hover-
why
I
I
just got
can't?
done.
Take
Do you
your
know
two
why I
hand-
can't?
take
Because
your
I know
own-
when I'm hovering.
Take your own two hands right now and put about 5 inches of space between them, and
'Kay.
slowly bring the hands in closer, and then pull them apart. And keep doing. This is one of the most basic yogic techniques. You will feel the energy of your body.
Do you want me to? Do I need to explain why
do
this
it
is
right
not
now.
correct?
Do it
Why
right now.
this isn't what I'm
I'm doing
talking
it.
about?
I'm gonna do it right
Well,
now.
what if it's just like a greenhouse effect where you're just insulating the heat that your face is radiating off? And
It doesn't matter because hold on. The reason it doesn't matter
Heat
is because
hold on, let
energy.
can
JHC
you
talk.
wait a second, please? The reason that doesn't matter is because in the case that I was describing, you don't know somebody is present and you don't know when they are present. So it's not identical. The fact that I infer, I mean, we get deluded into thinking that some part of our skin is being stimulated when it's not all the time. I don't need Reiki to tell me that. There are people with missing limbs who tell me that all the time. I don't need to be convinced of that. What I want to be convinced of is, can a person know that there is a human hand hovering over their body when they have no idea when they're going to be there? That's the kind of study that would be interesting to me.
So the study that Sugar linked identifies 3 different times of Reikis. And the first one is touch. They explicitly say confers the ability to treat oneself and others by touch. And then below it says it only considered hands-on Reiki. Distance Reiki was not considered at all.
We already covered this. Distance
Right.
Reiki does not
But
mean
again,
hovering.
right.
Distance Reiki means you're in a different state.
No, I know that. So we went over that.
Well, tell this
Sugar,
ignoramus.
just wait. Stay with me, Sugar.
Alright.
So do you understand, though, that I have an issue with this study where it would be a very interesting finding if people could sense a second body hovering over them when they don't know that they're there. I'm not surprised that people's neurology can be affected when they're in a dark room with soothing music and great smells, and they know that there is somebody there, and they know that their hands are going to be hovering over them, and that's going to change their.
Is my mic working?
Yeah, you're interrupting. It is definitely working.
Repeat yourself. What the fuck?
What did I say? Concrete. Repeat it back to me.
You already
Repeat it back to me, Concrete.
Fuck you.
No,
You already
I
stated
didn't.
it several times.
I didn't state my standard.
Several fucking times.
Hold
Just
on.
shut the fuck up and let somebody else
Concrete, you got to stop doing
Concrete.
that.
I'm gonna mute him in a second.
Yeah, so the whole point is you've already made your
Hold on. All
presentation.
right, I'm turning him
You've been
down.
talking most of the time.
He's down
Let
to
someone else
1%.
speak.
Okay. So do you understand, Sugar, that the interesting thing isn't that people can be affected by Reiki practices? The reason that we
Literally
want
repeating
these
yourself.
sorts of like double-blind tests is whether we can find out whether there is this thing, such as energy, that can be transferred via a second person's hands to another without them knowing that they're there.
First, I want you to admit that there is a vast amount of energy in the human. So we can debate whether it can be transferred or not. We can debate whether it can be transferred.
Say that again.
Or not. First,
Vast
You want me
amount
to
of
admit
energy.
what?
we can debate whether
But he
there's
doesn't
energy.
like being interrupted.
Why?
No, just-
Why is everyone over talking?
Oh, right.
Well, I didn't hear what you said. I want you to
What?
repeat it. You want me to admit what?
Okay, We can debate whether this energy can be transferred or not, but first, I want you to admit the human body is a vat of
Oh,
energy and electricity. A huge, unbelievable, powered
No,
electrical entity. That's what the human body is. I
Nope.
want you to admit that.
nope.
Why?
Hold on.
Why would you
Hold
not
on.
admit that?
I mean, I think I'll say yes. The human
Thank you.
body has
Yes.
electrochemical reactions going on all the
Yes.
time.
Very
Yes, I
no,
agree.
it runs on energy.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think that's. I
There's
think
only
that's by
one answer to
definition.
this.
Yeah.
There's only one answer to this. It is yes.
All
now
work
we're-
is done via energy.
So now we're debating. No, there's chemicals too, but there are more energetic reactions. Than
what?
Wait, hold on.
Chemical
Chemical
energy is energy.
reactions. Chemical energy is energy.
Yeah, but
All
that's
chemical
different.
reactions
That's
are.
different than electricity.
Energy
Well, you
is
said
magic.
energy.
Don't
You
know
said
that?
energy, not electricity. So I
Well,
think you just
you're
meant
right.
to say electricity.
Everything is energy, and it's very complex. But there are
Energy is
certain-
magic. Energy
Okay.
is magic.
Okay, so I
Everybody
It's
understand.
not. It's
Hold on.
not magic, Brenda, but it's real.
Guys, I'm
It's
so close.
real,
Please.
Brenda. Okay, it's not magic. It's real.
I am gonna
Now,
step
okay,
out.
now we've established that. That's beautiful. Now you want to talk about whether you can transfer. Well, I've shown you many double-blind controlled studies that are peer-reviewed, that have been meta-analyzed by distinguished scientists that say that it can be transferred. Now,
Hold on.
Have you thought about?
You're so sure that it can't be. I mean, I don't. Where is your evidence for that?
Wait.
Hold on, just
Hold
let
on.
JC
1 second.
finish if he wants.
Guys, god damn it.
JC.
Please. Now, do you think that it's my view that energy cannot be transferred through physical bodies in the universe? Do you think that's my view?
From
Sugar?
from human body to another human body.
What? I can push a human body, and that's a transfer of energy, Sugar.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So you're backing up my point. If you can push a human body, then you can influence it.
No.
With love and
Okay.
compassion and
So,
patience, right?
so
Yes.
if what you're saying is, if that's all you're saying is, hey, Reiki shows that energy can be transferred from one body to another. I don't need Reiki to show me that. What I want to know is if it can be transferred, if there can be psychological changes introduced into another human by a second human by merely hovering a body part or being close to them in such a way that they know it, that they know that, or they can feel it, or somehow basically the psychological event occurs even when they have no idea that the person is there. And the reason for that, why it's important that they don't know they're there, is because if they know that there's a human in close proximity who cares about them and is trying to make them feel better, it's not clear if it's the hover hands that's doing it or if it's the goodwill that they're feeling from another human. Do you understand that? So
Of
that's
course.
why.
I mean, what do you think I'm? What do
Okay,
you think
good.
I'm going to
So
say?
that's
What do you
what I
think
want.
I'm going to say? You're setting this threshold extremely high.
No, not
How
high.
how would a
Specific.
person?
And
how
in
would
fact,
anyone ever,
this is the
how
sort
would
of thing
anyone
that you could
meet
prove.
that threshold? How would anyone ever meet that threshold? It's just you're like it's absurd. That's why.
Oh,
That's
easy.
why
Hold on, easy.
scientists-
I'll
Okay.
tell you. I will tell you, Sugar. You would just need to tell somebody, hey, you're going to have no idea, but at some point in time, over your 8 hours or 1 hour, whatever, there's going to be a person in here that they're going to be hovering their hand over you. They're not going to touch you. They're just going to hover. There's going to be no other indication that they're here. And then you'd obviously have to work really hard to make that true. And then you'd have to tally up the results and see if people were good guessers. Hey, are they above random chance? Are they getting it right when there was a hand above them?
That's actually a really great study. I would love to do that. That'd be great.
Right. So that's what would convince me. Now, because when you're saying, hey, this study shows that Reiki and hover hands is doing this thing, well, it's not clear to me that it's not just the presence of a person who they think, loves and cares for them and is trying to make them feel better that's actually doing the trick.
Yeah, so this is your opinion, and you're entitled to it. But you admit that the scientific community, including Johns Hopkins Hospital, including Mayo Clinic, including the top 60 hospitals in the world, have looked at the meta studies that I've posted for you, and they have come to different conclusions. They've concluded that this thing does work better than placebo, and they offer it to their patients. They give it to people in the hospital. It's also really big in hospice. You don't even know about. One day, if you are on your deathbed and end up in government hospice, they will offer this to you. And the reason they do it is because they don't set the threshold as high as you. They're not stupid.
They
go,
also
oh, this clearly works, and so they offer it to people.
I'm not saying it doesn't work. You understand though? I want to know why it works. I'm granting that Reiki
I
works.
understand that you want to further intense research. Yeah, I would sure.
Yeah, I want to know. I want to know if Reiki works for the reasons that you think it does.
I hear you. Yeah.
Okay, so that would be the
Can I
interesting part to me.
interject now?
They taught us
Am
this.
I
Go
allowed
ahead,
to
Concrete.
contribute, please?
Go ahead, Concrete.
Thank you. All right. So with regards to this particular phenomenon of you feeling somebody not touching you or an energy transferring, it's already been studied in other measures. Thank you. With regards to people being able to tell whether or not someone is looking at them, right? So they've done a study. You get the feeling where someone's looking at you, you turn around, and they actually are looking at you. They've done this study before, and they find they find that I think it's the ability is stronger in younger people over older people. Thank you. And they attribute it to an evolutionary trait for survival, right?
Oh.
So what Sugar is saying has been studied.
Do you have a link to that study where
so what
where ESP
saying,
has been
excuse
verified?
me, 1 second, bro. 1 second, bro. So what Sugar is saying has been verified in other means, right? With regards to that particular phenomenon. It's not exact.
That's the second time you said it, and I'd like to see the study where ESP is confirmed.
Hold on, let him finish, and then he'll.
1 second, bro.
Then he'll talk about
1 second, bro. It's not specifically what GHC has been repeatedly asking for, I might add, but it's something that is similar to what Sugar is talking about.
Why do I care about that if it doesn't show what Sugar's talking about? It's just something else. It's just a change of topic.
Well, I think what he's saying is that this transferring of positive energy is already known. So it may not be down to the Reiki. It may be down to something else.
He said specifically, you can tell when somebody's looking at you. And what I want to know is where the proof of ESP is. He said there are these studies, so I'd like to see them.
Did you mean ESP, Concrete?
It's not working. Concrete not working.
ESP is literally extrasensory perception.
Yeah.
So if you don't know that a person's there and you're just like, ooh, I gotta chill, somebody's looking at me right now, and you have no indication that they are from your regular senses, yeah, that's ESP.
Well, great. Then it's been studied and it have been shown to exist.
That's what you've said for the third time. Where?
Yeah,
where was ESP proven to exist?
What do you mean where, dummy?
This is the third time you said there are studies. I would like to know where these studies are.
Hold on. You think there's a specific location where ESP has been proven to exist?
Yeah, no, that's what you just said 3 times.
He means by where you mentioned studies. Do you happen to have one you could link?
I'm sure the Google machine works
for
him just as well as it worked for me.
I mean, everything that I look up says it's a hoax for idiots. So.
Okay, great job,
bro. What about
so the Google worked?
What about the Aunt Jemima treatment, JC? You think that works?
Well,
what is that?
I don't. Do I want to know what that is?
I don't know.
Wow. I figured both of you would be familiar with it, but.
Well, what is it?
Might be a talk for another time.
Aunt Jemima treatment from Urban Dictionary involves adult nudity and Aunt Jemima syrup.
Oh my God.
That's all it says?
That's what it says.
Should have left out the most important part.
That's all it says.
No, actually, the essential part is the spatula.
Under her butt. Yeah, under her butt.
Fucking Alex
knows.
I
kind of want to speculate with everybody here just about a more general thing. The theme that well-wishing and compassion and company, positive company, can have a physical change on the person who's the subject of it.
Well,
Of
obviously.
course.
I think it does.
Of course, this isn't rocket science, obviously.
Yeah. If I'm undergoing chemotherapy, I would love to be surrounded by candles and people murmuring quietly to help me feel better. Sure.
So is that magic or science real, Brenda?
Yeah, it's magic. It's
No,
magic.
you just said it's science real, Brenda.
No,
Look, let it be
that
magic.
stuff.
Sugar, what's wrong with the label magic?
Because magic is real. I hate people calling magic like something that's real and being like, "Oh, that's magic."
If magic
no, it's
is real, it isn't. If magic is real, it isn't magic.
Sugar, these
Great. I'm not calling it magic. I'm calling it real. Reiki is.
Sugar, these aren't the arbiters of truth, right? So these are just skeptical atheists on Discord. Don't put too much effort into persuading people who really don't want to be persuaded, right? Intellectually lazy and skeptical.
How am I lazy?
I've got
that's
three
that's
people.
an insult. That I really object to that. That's
Concrete,
a
three
outrageous.
people.
Good. You should object
Concrete.
to it. You're snarky.
Three
It's
people.
Magic. 1 second. Your snarky is magic is what sets the tone for these type of rebuttals, right? So you snark, I'll snark back. No problem.
Okay, nobody needs to snark.
Look,
Three people.
the only thing we've gotten so far is from Concrete is that ESP is real and go Google it.
Yeah,
that's it. Why don't you sit out a play, or you can post an actual study, and we can see if ESP is real. I don't know how I'm lazy when you won't post the study. You're the one telling other people to Google your work for you.
Concrete, maybe you could just guide, say, me in what I should Google.
Yeah, studies showing people being able to detect when they are being looked at.
Can you give me some keywords? If you
Try
were to
typing
Google
that
it,
in.
that's a lot to type.
All right, here's a why is it you can sense with, here's something. Why is it, I typed exactly what you said. Why is it you can sense when somebody is staring at you? Okay, this is kind of big. The biological phenomena is known as gaze detection. Neurological studies have found that brain cells that initiate this response are very precise. If someone turns their gaze,
Hold on.
if somebody turns their gaze off of you by turning just a few degrees to the left or right, that eerie feeling quickly fades. Okay, so
fuck.
Concrete.
I'm gonna have
the
to
claim
I'm
so
gonna
far,
leave.
Concrete.
Concrete. I read this article. You don't want to
hate
claim
it.
victory. They say that everybody constantly detects gaze.
I mean, I can just
Spoiler-
read. Humans are
spoiler
sensitive
alert.
to the gaze of others. When another person changes the direction of their attention, we automatically follow their gaze. It's more than just being predators, blah, blah, blah. It also has to do with cooperative and social nature. Okay, we don't care. Another reason, if you look at human eyes in contrast to other, the cellular or white part is far larger, blah, blah. But for humans, a large sclera, I don't know how to say this, sclera allows us to notice the direction of another's gaze. All this literally says is that we get creeped out when somebody's staring at us. We lock eyes. Do you have something else you want me to type in?
The sclera is the whites. The sclera is the whites of your eyes.
It isn't always, oh, hold on. It isn't always about seeing another's eyes. With our peripheral vision, we consider the position of their head and other clues, such as how their body's positioned, lend to whether we think they're looking at us or not. What if we're not sure? Just to be safe, the brain errs on the side of caution and assumes we're being stared at.
What's the study cited here?
Concrete, do you have anything you want to say? Now that I finished reading the article, how about how you just got wrecked?
So you're gonna straw man my position?
No.
I didn't say. 1 second, bro. 1 second. You're gonna straw man.
All right, let's go to a different one. Well, I don't want to hear your answer. Let's go to the next one.
Why is he getting to overtalk, right?
How you know your eyes are watching you by Psychology Today.
Concrete, did you want to answer something? Go ahead and answer.
So it's a straw man for you to present some random article, read through it in 5 minutes.
That's what you told me to Google.
this guy's stupid. I'm not.
So he told me to Google, and you interrupted me
That's
while
not
I was
worth
reading
it.
it to claim victory, dipshit.
Yes, I did.
So
I
let's read
didn't
through the
interrupt you.
second
I
one.
interjected.
Let's read through the second
I
one.
interjected to
Let
say,
me
"Oh,
interject with the
fuck."
second article.
All right,
called
we're gonna go ahead and keep reading.
How You Know Eyes Are Watching You. You know that feeling you get when you're being stared at? Well, concrete does. Out of the corner of your eye, even outside of your field of vision, you can tell someone is checking you out,
Oh,
sizing you
fuck.
up,
Hold
or
on,
trying to
concrete.
make eye
Stop.
contact. Sometimes it almost feels like ESP, the ability to detect another person's stare, because it often comes at the fringes of our awareness. But far from being ESP, the perception originates from a system in the brain that's devoted just to detecting where others are looking. This gaze detection system is especially sensitive to whether someone's looking directly at you. Studies that record the activity of a single brain cell find that particular cells fire when someone is staring right at you, but amazingly, not when that observer's gaze is averted just a few degrees to the left or right. Oh, so again, you're making eye contact. Do you want me to keep reading? We can have another oh fuck moment where I finish the article
Yeah,
and then
so
they say,
I
oh,
like.
just kidding, not really ESP.
Concrete, go ahead.
Yeah, I like the way it particularly addresses what I said. When you feel someone's gaze, when you're not looking, when you're not in, you can't see them, and you're just speedily reading past it to highlight.
Reading past
the,
what? I read the entire thing from the start.
Me. Calm down, bro. Calm down. We're gonna tone it down a little bit, and then you want to end on something that says that you're being able to see the person seeing you. When you started with you cannot see them and yet you feel the sensation. That's what we're talking about, bro. Can't
Okay,
see
maybe
them.
I should
Excuse
Google
me,
something
one
else.
second.
Do you have a different?
Bro.
Do you have a different Google? Here,
One second, bro.
I'll just
Calm down.
fix
Show a
this.
little self-control.
Studies
Be
showing
mature.
whether people can
Be
detect whether
mature.
being looked
What's
at
so
Hold on,
hard?
when
JC.
they
Just a
can't
minute.
see another
He
person.
just talks and talks and talks and
Just
talks.
concrete. Just finish up. I
So,
think. If I am I right, the problem is that JHC thinks that there's a physical explanation, a scientific explanation, and that we know it, and that the subject he's reading from is giving that explanation. So then that means that we acknowledge there is such a phenomenon, but it's not down to ESP. That's the point, I think.
No, that's not the point, Helena. That's a secondary point. The first point is that he made elaborate, crazy claims about ESP. We didn't believe him. He gave us something to Google. I'm Googling it, and it's saying ESP isn't real. That's the issue.
All right,
Obviously,
Concrete, go ahead.
we knew what this was going to say.
All right, what is your actual claim then, Concrete?
Thank you. So my claim, very simply, is that the sensation that you feel when someone is staring at you has been studied. It's proven to be stronger in younger people, and some people have posited an explanation that it is a defensive mechanism used and evolved over time, being able to know when you're being predated, right?
Okay, great. So this was a topic change. Got it.
Well, he's not done yet. He's not done yet.
You don't want to use the word predated.
1 second, bro. So the reason why I brought this up is because it's similar to what Sugar was talking about, where energy is moving from one person to another without there being physical contact. So the energy that I'll be speaking of would be the energy from the predator to the prey, and the sensation that is felt during that event. Nothing more.
Okay. Okay. All right. Good job, Concrete.
In some cultures, it's known as the evil eye.
So no, that's something totally different.
Oh, is it? Okay. What's that? What's the difference there?
So when I look at something, I'm transferring my energy to.
Duh, obviously.
Yeah, so all you're saying is that you're skeptical. Congratulations. All we need to do with your skepticism, 1 second, bro. All we need to do with your skepticism is just confirm that you're not you don't have access to absolute truth, nor have you been privy to nor have you been privy to all the information in the world, right? So since that's the case, your skepticism
the global skepticism defense. We don't know everything, so
Hold on, guys.
Goodness gracious.
This is a change of topic.
All right,
Can we just skip what he's talking about?
Hold on.
We all need to hear more of you in your fucking disgusting voice. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's rude. But
Don't take
anyway,
it back.
besides that, which has nothing to do with what we were talking about, nobody's interested about the feelings you get when you see somebody staring at you. That's not
Do you
interesting.
understand? Do you understand
Well,
the
it's a different
correlation
topic. Would
between
you
the two?
agree, Helena?
No, it's
That
not
it's
a
a different
different
topic
topic.
than what we were
Oh my
talking about,
God.
which is
Well,
knowing when somebody's
well,
hovering a hand over you, which is actually ESP.
Holy shit.
I
I
think
can just, I can,
concrete
This
might
is
see it as
stupid.
the same topic because
I'm asking
if there's a
you.
non-natural property going on, maybe it is that you get this
I
feeling,
just,
this
He
creepy
didn't
thing.
say
Go
he
ahead.
didn't say non-natural property at all. And all
Have
of
to,
the things that
dummy.
I googled
Do I
and
have
the
to? Does
studies
she
that
have
we
to
pulled
repeat
up,
everything I said
Concrete,
verbatim?
stop.
Wait, does she
all
have
of
to
the
repeat
studies that we
everything
brought
I
up
said
said
verbatim?
that you do see them.
This
You
is
are
sad.
making eye contact and it
Helena,
makes
this
you
is
feel
sad.
different.
You let
And they
JC
turn their
derail
head and the
a
feeling
perfectly
changes.
good conversation.
That's not ESP. It's not ESP because it involves
This
vision.
is sad.
Right? That's not an
You
extra
can't control
sense.
JC.
That's the sight sense.
It's
Okay,
peripheral
so
vision.
flat earthers are better behaved than you
okay,
people.
that's not necessary. Concrete.
It is. It
What do
is.
you say to the argument about the fact that that JHC's pulled up an article and it's giving a scientific explanation for these feelings?
Great.
Okay.
So what? I mean, all we're talking about is the existence of the phenomena and its legitimacy through scientific inquiry, right?
I think
So
we need.
what? This is all. Excuse me, one second.
Uh huh.
Bro. So this is all in support of what Sugar said regarding power of hands and hovering and proximity and energy, right?
That's not.
Wait,
This is
what do you
all
mean
within
by
that
legitimate?
same
When you
line.
say,
Come on, bro. Come on, bro.
look,
This
if
is
you don't
all
want
within
people to
that.
interrupt
I don't
you,
know
if
what
you
are you
don't want people
doing.
to interrupt,
Stop bullying.
if you don't,
Stop bullying.
if you don't
Can you
want
stop
people to
bullying?
interrupt you, just be a little more succinct, and then this will go a lot
Dude,
smoother. But you're
just calm down and be patient, bro. I don't even speak that much.
Okay.
Anyway, so this is all in association with Sugar Shane. Nothing more, nothing less.
No, it's not.
Right.
Okay.
One little clarifying thing. Concrete, are you making the claim that people have this sense even when somebody is staring at them from behind them and there's no peripheral vision?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
There
how
we go.
you would have to do the test.
Everybody
That would
got
be the
that?
only way to do it.
Everybody got that? So can we find that study
But
where nobody's
right.
in their peripheral vision and they still
Did
sense it?
Can I just say something really quick?
JC's already found it. You didn't hear
No.
the first opening
No,
paragraph?
that study was,
Concrete.
Read it again, JC. Read it again, JC.
After Concrete, Scarlet can go.
had to do with sight and them seeing that.
Scarlet, go.
No.
The study did not suggest that there was any kind of like energy being transferred from the person looking at, the subject to the subject. I mean, it was just saying that the subject was seeing the person looking at them out of their peripheral vision, which was informing their brain and sending signals internally to give that feeling, rather than some kind of mystical energy.
Yeah, so look, it doesn't have to be mystical. We're just talking energy simpliciter or simply energy, right? So when you go back to one second. When you go back to what JC read, the first paragraph, it speaks about not being able to see the person. Go ahead, JC. Repeat. Wait 1 second. JC,
No, it
go
doesn't.
ahead and repeat that first paragraph, and then we'll all hear you speed past it. Go
All right,
ahead.
here it is. I'm literally just reading the first.
All the way over.
Here's the very.
All the way over.
Here's the beginning. Okay, I'll just keep reading until you tell me to stop. Okay, Concrete. Say you're engrossed in a task, scrolling through your phone or reading a book. Suddenly, that creepy, prickly feeling grabs hold of
That's
you.
not what you read before.
Well, the next paragraph is probably what you're talking about, where it says the biological phenomenon is known as gaze detection. Well, that's the first article.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I can read the second article if you want. You know that feeling you get when you're being stared at. Out of the corner of your eye, even outside of your field of vision, you can just tell someone is checking on. Yeah. But did you? Hold on. But the rest of it shows.
This is just fucking ridiculous.
Stop.
Not one of you.
Shut the fuck up, Concrete.
Not one of you. Not one of you people would last 30 seconds in the flat Earth debates that I go. Flat Earthers are better behaved than every single person.
No one
in here.
gives a fuck.
No. Brenda, oh my
She
God.
left.
Okay,
No one gives a fuck.
we happen to be conversing with the most, let's say, dynamic and passionate people right now. So it's going to be a little heated, but we don't have to add to the heat.
So let's address this this thing Concrete is focusing on, which is out of the field of vision. Now, I think
Yeah.
he thinks that means not within sight of your eye at all, which
Right.
I'm guessing is not what's being it's not what's meant here.
Yeah,
Wait a
it's
second.
correct.
So if they
being,
say,
like, direct.
wait.
Understand that your field of vision should be understood here as being in quotes, as in it's not something that you're directly looking at.
So go ahead.
Because it goes on, right? Because here's what it says, right? I'll just keep reading. Out of the corner of your eye, even outside your field of vision, you can just tell someone is checking you out, sizing you up, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it almost feels like ESP, this ability to detect another person's stare, because it often comes at the fringes of our awareness. But far from being ESP, the perception originates from a system in the brain that's devoted just to detecting where others are looking. This gaze detection system is especially sensitive to whether someone's looking directly at you, for example, whether somebody's staring at you or the clock just over your shoulder. Studies that record the activity of single brain cells find that particular cells fire when someone's staring right at you, but amazingly, not when the observer's gaze is averted just a few degrees to the left or right. The special machinery in the brain reveals just how important your gaze is when communicating with others. With your permission, I'd like to skip him talking about communication with others because it doesn't matter. Think of a time you're out in public and you could sense someone is staring at you without you even having to look the person's direction.
Thank you.
What information was your peripheral visual system using that led to this awareness? The first things that we usually notice are another person's head and body positions. If either is pointed in your direction, especially in an unnatural way, this is a big tip-off. The most obvious case is when someone's body is pointed away from you, but their head is turned towards you. This then alerts you to pay closer attention to their eyes. But even when head and body positions don't give us much information, studies find that our peripheral vision can still detect another's gaze remarkably well. How do we do this? Now, I have 9 paragraphs left, but do you understand how this article is making the case that what seems so weird is accounted for by our peripheral vision?
Yeah, so again, you did
Great.
what I said. 1 second. Again, you did what I said you do, which is that it said clearly outside of your field of vision. You read
But not
past
outside
that.
of peripheral vision.
1 second, bro. You read past that and highlighted when they talk about peripheral vision, right?
I
So
didn't.
there is. Excuse me.
I didn't read past it. I read the whole thing to address that.
Come on, man.
Concrete, we'll just go back to it. Concrete, we'll just go back to it. We'll just go back to it, Concrete.
You have to hold on.
I've already caught it. Listen, I've
Right.
already caught it.
But I think you're mistaken. We should go back and read it again.
Where's the mistake? Where is the
Let's
mistake?
go
I'll
over
read
it
it
again.
again. I'll read it again. Okay.
Concrete. There's more context.
Outside of your field
But
of
there's,
vision.
but there is
Okay,
more.
rather than you shouting,
but there is more.
Can we read the line?
But there is more context after that makes
it.
Jesus Christ.
All right, so I'm gonna explain
read-
this. I'm gonna explain this
Can we
quickly.
read that? Can we
Wait.
read that specific part again? Which
I
it
will
says
read
outside
it.
field of
Yes.
vision.
I'm going to tell you what my thesis. I'm going to tell you what the thesis of this article is first, and I'm going to read all of those parts again that are relevant, including the ones where it talks about things being outside of the field of vision, and it's going to pull it together, and you're going to understand why this is not a defense of what you think it is. Okay? So, what this article is arguing is that there is something that happens known as gaze detection, and this occurs when we can't really tell if somebody's looking at us, and they're outside of our normal field of vision. And we know that this happens. By the way, there's something called blind sight, where we take in information from our surroundings via the visual system, but we're not conscious of it, meaning it's not pulled into working memory, and we don't have access through higher cognition necessarily, which is why it remains a feeling. Okay? So there's this thing that we know that happens called blind sight. Now, we already know that we take in more information from our surrounding via the visual system than we have conscious access of. Now, what this shows is that we can scientifically see this happening. We can see the visual system because of our enlarged sclera. I still know how to say that we take in information from the periphery of our vision, and we can do things with it, like detect when somebody's staring at us. So we have visual stimulation that we're not necessarily conscious of, but we are retrieving the data regardless. Now, with that being said, I'm going to read the section that you like, Concrete, which is supposed to be the exciting part, and then I'm going to read the scientific explanation. You know that feeling you get when you're being stared at out of the corner of your eye, even outside your field of vision. You can just tell someone is checking you out, sizing you up, or trying to make eye contact with you. Sometimes it almost feels like ESP, the ability to detect another person's stare because it comes at the fringes of our awareness. But far from being ESP, the perception originates from a system in the brain that's devoted just to detecting where others are looking. Now, let's scroll down to the...
No, hold on. Can we,
I'm
I
not done
really
yet.
want to address
Hold
that
on.
one.
I
know, but look, I know, look,
one
I get
factor
it.
goes back to
no,
our gaze
seriously?
detection.
Seriously, I'm interjecting as
turn you
politely as
down
I
too.
can. You fucking dick.
I'm turning you down too. So the first things we usually notice are another person's head and body positions, and if
Yeah, I'm not,
either
you know
is
what,
pointed in
that's
your
some serious
direction,
bullshit.
especially in an
I was
unnatural way,
interrupting as
this is a
politely
big
as a
tip-off.
person could.
The
I have
most
one
obvious
very
case
simple
is when
point to make
somebody's
about
body
that.
is wait
If
for it.
he's not shut up
This
right now,
alerts you to pay
like,
closer
because he's been
attention.
talking for like 10
But
minutes.
even when head and body positions don't give us much
He's allowed to
information,
talk. He's gonna
studies
help
find that our
keep him out of
peripheral
a fight, man.
vision,
Well, that's fine as long as
can
people are
still
taking their
detect
turn. You know,
another's
I don't mind.
gaze.
Like he's
Why
made a
is that?
solid point, but he's
Well,
repeating
one
himself.
factor
And
goes
there's
back
one
to our
single
gaze
point that you're
detection
trying to
system,
address
which makes
that
us
I would
more
like to make a
sensitive
comment
to the
about.
other person's eyes than we
I don't
realize.
mind letting somebody make
The
their
biggest
point. I think
difference
that's
is that when
important.
looking at human
But they need
eyes,
to be respectful
it's easy
that
to
like other
distinguish the
people have
dark
things to
center
contribute
from the
too.
rest of the eye.
Look,
So, what I'm going to ask you... Oh, here's another pit. I'll
Okay,
read
hang on a
this.
sec, JC. Can you?
All right.
Yeah, you guys need to shut
What's
him
up?
down when he does that. That's some serious bullshit. Like he's been talking for like 15 minutes. And if he can't accept the polite interjection on the point he's making, then what the fuck is the point of him being in the conversation? I think he's making a solid point, but doing it for 15, 20 minutes straight isn't helpful.
It's about your meta.
Maybe it's not meta. Maybe.
Okay, Hogtie, go ahead.
Fuck up.
JC, can you
The-
also
the-
post the article?
Yeah.
The only single point I wanted to make about that, and it would have been helpful if the guy would have been listening, is that it was a concrete who's wigging out about the outside your vision, he's wigging out about it. The part that he's reading right there describes a feeling, right? And that's why I want him stop there for a second, read those two sentences, and make it super clear that what it's describing there is, you know, we all know this feeling of like when you sort of feel like somebody behind you is looking at you, and then you turn around and there's people and one of them's looking at you. It's describing a feeling. It is the introductory paragraph that sort of introduces the concept. Then it goes on to discuss the science of it. There's nothing in this article that says we have scientific confirmation that that feeling that you get is a real thing. It's a reliable detection mechanism, and it's based on zeta waves or something, right? There's nothing in the article about that. So I listened to him read that part twice. I listened to him read that part twice, and he's read the other stuff on it.
Wait till
So
he's
now
finished.
Concrete's just going to shout over people.
Did you read the
Read
Okay,
those
I'll
two
mute it.
sentences
Hang
again.
on.
The point will be made clearly.
All right, great. So just make pronouncements that are fucking dishonest, right? The
Well, that's all
article
you've been
does-
doing, just shouting at people. Random pronouncements.
Okay. Are you done, Gus?
Gus. Oh snap.
All right, great. All right. So the whole point, very simply, is clearly says outside of your field of vision. Now, what the escape artist would like to do is say that that means peripheral vision, which doesn't mean outside your field of vision, because your peripheral is still within your field of vision.
I didn't say
Right?
that.
Now, outside, excuse me one second, bro. So anything outside of your field of vision would not include your peripheral vision. Now, I understand that the article.
Actually, Concrete, I
No,
posted a
come on,
diagram.
bro. All
Hold
right,
on.
I posted a
go ahead.
diagram for you, Concrete. Check it
I
out.
didn't ask you
General
to.
chat.
Thank you. I'm just talking.
Well,
Give me a
it will
second.
help
When I'm
you.
done.
It will
When I'm
help you
done.
to understand the
When I'm
difference
done.
between field
When
of
I'm
view
done.
and
When
peripheral
I'm
vision.
done. When I'm done.
You're just wasting time. Just fucking
When
JJ,
I'm
educate
done.
yourself.
When
JJ, you're
I'm
doing
done,
it.
bro.
Stop.
Okay.
Fucking A.
just get it out,
Thank you.
Concrete.
Hold on. Don't talk. Let me fucking gather myself.
Oh my god.
Woosah.
So you're excluding peripheral vision as being included as
Woosah.
field of vision. Okay, it's
Well,
not.
what we
Can
need,
we?
So
what we need to do is, if we're gonna examine this particular fucking study, or it's an article of a study, then we would have to go by their definitions, right? So if JJ offers me a definition of field of view, that does include peripheral vision or whatever, it still
No.
wouldn't be their standard, right? So it doesn't matter what he
False.
unless he's talking.
Hold on.
Unless he's talking
Let,
about
let me
a
let me say
particular.
about this one, because I know the diagram he's referring to, and this is something Concrete has right. Okay, so if you take a look at that diagram, like one is a top view, and you notice that the field of vision, including the green part, the far peripheral, goes out to about 110 degrees to the right and about 110 degrees to the left. This is sort of consistent with your own experience, right? You can sort of see to the side and even a little bit back a little bit, right? The other view is like a forward-looking view. If you count the lines, notice the green part, far periphery, it goes 60 degrees, 70, 80, oh, there's a 90 labeled, 100, 110. Both of those diagrams, one that is the top-down view and the other one that is the forward-looking view, both of those things indicate that the field of vision includes that green thing, the so-called far periphery. I don't think we should try to suggest that peripheral vision is somehow outside of the field of view. Peripheral vision consistently throughout the literature is used to mean part, like the extents of the field of view.
I think
So
this
Thank you,
he's
can.
right
Gus.
on that one.
Thank you,
I
Gus.
think this
Who
is
the
easy
fuck is
though
Gus? Why
because.
do you say that?
All right, I think this is easy because from what I heard, it says outside of your field of vision, but seen out of the corner of your eye, right? And that makes what Concrete is trying to say impossible, because that means that something you're seeing out of the corner of your eye is included in the field of vision. And then if Concrete is what he's saying is true, that means that someone can be directly behind you, but you could see them out of the corner of your eye, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, if you're going off of JC's
Uh-oh.
My what?
Yeah, on second look, it doesn't seem like this diagram helps really.
Well, it does. I mean, look, the article states that you are seeing the tips that that are coming in. We're seeing, right? It specifically says, even in the end, right? Here's the closing line of this paragraph, which we never got to. That ESP-like feeling you get when you're being watched is your brain telling you in a barely perceptible way, aka using perception, visual perception, that something meaningful is happening. What visual perception? Well, it's visual perception done, according to this article, specifically in the periphery of our vision. That's what this article says. You'd have to be a complete idiot to miss that.
Yeah, so what JC wants to do is he wants to take a multifaceted examination of a phenomena. Multifaceted being there's a peripheral view examination of the phenomena, there is a outside your field of view examination of the phenomena, and then there is maybe a direct view examination of the phenomena. And he wants to say that the outside of your field of view is the same thing as the peripheral field of view, And then I guess he's going to say the full frontal field of view is the same thing as a peripheral field of view, right? Because what he would want to do is conflate all three aspects of this examination.
I think he's
into
trying not to
one,
conflate.
right? He wants to.
I'm not.
He wants to package them into one aspect of the examination and say, see, there was no part of it where it was outside the field of view, even though it clearly says outside the field of view.
He's
in
trying.
fact, they were talking. Excuse me 1 second. I'm almost done. And in fact, they're only talking about the peripheral field of vision, right? Well, sorry, JC. You're just trying to pull some fucking shake and bake Ricky Bobby bullshit, and you're a piece of shit for doing so.
Right. So he's actually trying not to conflate the two. I think what this article.
You don't know that because
I think what this article is saying is that there's something in your peripheral vision that's not within your field of view. Your field of view is actually narrower than your peripheral vision.
No.
You get that, Concrete?
No, I would disagree with that. The article mentions out of the corner of your eye, right?
Well,
so you can take the field of view and you can divide it into sensible things like the foveal field, the macular field, the near periphery, the far periphery, but you don't have out of the corner of my eye. That's not a technical term. It would be like saying, it would be like an article that's discussing about these memories that you have on the tip of your tongue, and then you guys arguing over whether or not there are like memory cells literally on your tongue.
No, that's
right?
not
It's
it.
an expression.
No, hogtie. No. Corner of your eye is being referred to as the peripheral vision, probably the far peripheral, right? As opposed to the field of view, this other diagram, which is labeling as visual limit of, or visual, what does it say? God damn it. Limit of visual field. That's what they're calling this. And it's much narrower than the peripheral vision, which would include out the corner of your eye. That's the distinction being made here, Hogtie.
Well, in that article, because it would be very, very, very rare to say that your peripheral vision is outside of your field of vision, right? That would be a weird thing to say.
It's the distinction is being made in that article.
I think you guys are making this way too harder than it has to be. All you have to ask him is if Concrete can see something out of the corner of his eye without actually seeing.
Well, I think a good test would be, can you detect people? Can you reliably detect yes or no? Is somebody staring at you when they're staring directly at you, right in front of you, looking you right in the face through one-way glass?
Yeah, but Concrete is making Concrete's argument is just all about his interpretation. But I think we can show that his interpretation is like incoherent.
Yeah.
Look, the article clearly states that we're visually seeing these tips and hints from other people, and we infer when they're seeing us. That's what the article states. You'd have to be an idiot not to understand that.
This is so easy. Look, the article says you see something outside of your field of view, out of the corner of your eye.
When
now,
does it
if
say
Concrete's,
where does it say that?
it says, I don't know. I don't have the article. JC,
Okay,
where did
thank
you
you.
just do a Control F?
Thank you. It does not say that. Anyway.
Yeah, it does.
Let's move on. JC,
Wait.
where does it say that, JC?
If it is that, is that a problem? Does that mean you were wrong?
Okay, great. This is some real fucking head scratching fucking sophistry.
Yeah, okay. Do you have the article in front of you, Concrete?
Am I the fucking one reading it, dumbass?
No.
Thank you.
Then fucking ask the guy reading it, stupid.
Why did you shit on Hogtie for not reading the article if you didn't read it?
Or Tom, for that matter.
No.
Look,
Why do you say it doesn't say that when Tom said it does?
This is really crazy. But
Why did you even ask where does it say that? If you can't fucking find it in the article yourself, asshole. Sorry.
Look, JHC, can you can you find that?
Exactly. Find
Which part?
The quote was something like, outside the field of view, but seen from the corner of your eye.
Yeah. Well, the opening two sentences, you know that feeling you get when you're being stared at out of the corner of your eye, even outside of your field of vision. That's what it states.
Hold on. That's the line we're talking about? They're two different things.
That's the distinction
You know that
I was
feeling?
talking about,
It says, what's that?
That's the distinction I was talking about.
That
Outside the
means,
field of
look,
view.
okay, now in that case, no, then they're different. Okay, now what it's saying there is, and it doesn't matter. I think whoever said we're making too big of a deal out of it is absolutely right. It says, hey, you know that feeling? You know that feeling you get? It's just an introduction, just to tell people what we're talking about. That you can sometimes, you kind of feel like somebody's looking at you out of the corner of your eye, or even outside of your field of vision. Those are two different places. The corner of your eye and outside of your field of
That's
vision
what I
are two
just
different
fucking
places.
said.
Here's the point: is that Concord is trying to say that the phrase "outside field of view" means that not seen at all, right?
Yeah.
But how could you
Yes.
not see something but see it through the corner of your eye?
The article's not saying that. First off, it's not saying anything. It's just saying, hey, you know that feeling. And then it says, I'm going to insert the word or because it makes the grammar make more sense. It says, you know that feeling, how you can detect that somebody's looking at you even though you're not looking at them. You sort of notice it out of the corner of your eye or even outside of your visual field.
Thank you.
So there's looking at someone, there's your peripheral vision, and then there's this other place, even when they're not looking at you.
Thank you.
Or sorry,
Look,
even when you're not
Hogtie.
looking at them.
I don't
I'm
understand
sorry.
what
Can
you
you
just
read
said.
it one more time, please?
Wait, 1 second. 1 second. Hogtie, the reason why I called you Gus is because we have a fellow Canadian who sounds just like you.
Hogtie knows Gus.
Gotcha.
I know Gus Belanger very well.
Oh, I wasn't disrespecting you. I just wanted you to.
He doesn't like his name being
Because-
used, by the way.
Because thank you for coming to my defense with these fucking asshole liar pieces of shit.
Does this
I'm not
article?
coming to your
Does
defense.
this article?
Stop.
Wait.
I'm not coming to your defense. I'm coming to the defense of correct beliefs, about
Same
forming
thing, bro.
beliefs that reflect reality. When you get something right, I will say you got something right.
No
I got to pee so bad.
Look, does the article state that that it's our peripheral vision? Does it say it? Does it say that we have ESP? Yes or no, Congress?
Again, did I read the article, you fucking dumbass?
What?
Did you listen to him reading the
Did
article to you?
post- Did you post the article?
Yes.
Okay, great. When I get a chance to read it, I'll let you know, and then you can.
Weren't you listening when you demanded that he read it to you?
Wait.
Fuck off.
AJ, you think he read the entire article, you dumb bitch?
Actually, I did. But there was the only part that I skipped. I said, "Can I have your permission to skip two sentences?" That was it.
Thank you.
I mean,
read
here,
the
I'm gonna
innocent.
read
He
them right
read
now.
to himself. Hold on.
You dumb bitch. So no, I haven't
He did. He read the.
article, nor have I heard the entire article.
Oh,
Please
the
don't use
entire
this as a
article.
dumb bitch.
Name every article, asshole.
Here, hold on. Let's just fix this right now. There's two sentences I skipped. Okay, eye contact is so primal that its meaning extends across animal species. Predators stare intently before they pounce. Infants gaze at their parents to capture their attention, and as you know, humans and dogs can express many things to each other through eye contact alone. There, you've heard this. You've read the entire article now. You've heard it. I asked for your permission to skip that because I thought that was meaningless to our conversation.
Yeah, and I mean, you read the entire article. That is, you read it to yourself, and then when you were making your point, you read aloud all of it except for portions that you skipped, and you did so expressly. You told us, okay, I'm going to skip a couple paragraphs here, right? But you did read the whole thing yourself, right?
Yeah. You have now all heard this, right?
Look,
Yeah.
Concrete's whole position. Concrete's whole position relies on the term field of view being all-encompassing of everything sight. If it's not, then he has his interpretation is flawed.
Yeah, Hog is right. The first paragraph is literally just, oh, you know, the spooky feeling when. And then it goes on to explain, hey, guess what? You're actually getting clues from your periphery. Like you're seeing where, even if you're not seeing their eyes, you see like the weird angle that they're holding their skull, even though they're turned from you. And
Yeah,
you
and real
infer
quick-
that
real
they're
quick-
staring at you. That's literally
real
what the
quick,
article says.
I got to go because I'm going into a bank, and I bet you I'm going to have a conversation in there that's actually more frustrating than this one, believe it or don't. Fuck, I hate Scotiabank. See you
Very
guys.
funny. Very funny.
Now, did Concrete post a study showing that people can see when they look in their backs?
He didn't post anything. He told us to Google it, and when I did, it gave me a bunch of articles debunking ESP.
No,
Oh,
but
God, why have you guys been
that's
arguing this
what
for an hour?
that's what Concrete is going to be. That's an entailment of what he's saying, because if field of view means everything that you can see, and you can still see something out of the corner of your eye, I don't know. He thinks that you can like see things that are behind you or something.
Well, he won't answer that question. He's
Look,
being really weird about it.
I researched this an hour ago when I left, and I don't know what you've been talking about all this time, but sorry, my seatbelt beep.
Yeah, why doesn't he answer that question?
I don't know what you guys have been talking about all this time, but he never posted it. What I saw is that they had like studies on this in the 1930s and 40s, and since they've stopped looking into it, and most of the science now about it is what you're talking about. They say it's periphery stuff, and that people always feel like they're being watched.
We don't even need to go into the study because we can't get past the interpretation of some terms. There's disagreement of what terms mean. We can't go into the.
Yeah, we tried. We thought we understood what Concrete was saying. We looked it up, and he just changed his position to something else.
Yeah, so if you're just gonna keep lying and strawmanning my position.
Oh, wait. Just correcting. What's the position? Just correct us on the position, Concrete.
I can't do this. I'm a Lord JJ. I can't do it.
Okay. All right, Concrete, just prove me wrong then, right? This is a simple question. Do you think that the term field of vision means everything that can be seen by a person? It's going to encompass everything. Is that all it took?
The answer to that question is no. Say no.
Yeah, so I was disconnected. Look, Tom, you wanna be the arbiter of what the
He was
author
disconnected because he
means
tried to
when
call
it
me.
says outside your field of vision. Now, my question is, since you're holding the answer sheet, how did you acquire the answer sheet?
What?
You want to
We're
be the
just
arbiter.
Concrete.
No, stop.
We're
Shay,
just
please.
trying to
Please,
get
Shay,
a foundation. We're trying to agree on what
All
a
right,
field
go
of
ahead.
vision
Just
means.
keep talking. Fuck this stupid
The
shit.
question, look, we can get down to this just really, you got to answer like 2 questions, 2, and they're both yes or no. So if you are interested in moving forward, you would answer the question. The first question is very simple. Does the term field of vision simply mean everything that can be seen by a person?
Say yes.
Oh, fuck.
It's a tough one.
It's not a trick question.
Tactical silence.
Must have been pretty tricky.
It's really not a trick question, Concrete. No, that would make things too clear cut, and it would destroy.
Yeah, the next time he does this, don't get caught up in like the study, blah blah blah. Just like if you can't, if he's stuck on this, then like you don't. Why go further?
Well, his first position is that we have ESP, and what I mean by that is, according to him, we know when somebody is around, even when we have no sensory evidence that they're around. And what he brought up is these examples of knowing that you're being stared at. And then I said, well, that would be strange because that would prove ESP. And that was the first time ESP was mentioned, which means extrasensory perception, which means you get information by some source other than the commonly accepted senses that we own.
He wants to say when they, yes. Sorry.
So anyway, I said that would be strange. Please provide. And after asking him 3 times, he said, Google it. And so I literally typed in exactly what he said to Google, and every single article was saying, hey, you know that really stupid thing that idiots say about ESP? Well, here's the scientific explanation for it. And it turns out that it's seeing clues out of the corner of your vision. Not a big surprise. So now either he's changed his position or the articles proved him wrong. it doesn't really matter to me which.
So let me,
go ahead.
let me summarize why concrete has fucked up, right? So he wants to say when the article says something is detected outside of a person's field of view, he wants to say field of view means everything that can be seen, period, by that person. Therefore, it was detected through ESP, right? Okay. Problem is, if that's true and that's what they mean by field of view, they also go on to say outside of field of view, but seen out of the corner of the eye, which means that field of view cannot mean everything that a person sees.
Correct.
And I don't know if I like that definition.
It doesn't matter if we like the definition. We just read the research. And multiple times it's specific. The article that he wanted me to read that he thought dunked on me because he started hooting and hollering after the first paragraph. The next word or the next sentence includes something like, but this isn't ESP, and here's why we're actually getting the signals into the corner of our vision. I don't care what the definitions are. If you just read it with half a brain, you'll see that this isn't ESP.
And that's going to commit concrete to saying this is the type of thing that's going to be coherent to concrete, right? It's like someone's standing completely behind me, right? But I could still see them out of the corner of my eye or some bullshit. It's fucking ridiculous.
Right. And by the way, for the one-way glass thing, you can read an entire Wikipedia article called "The Psychic Staring Effect," and I'll just read the intro. The idea was the idea was first explored by psychologist Edward Titchener after students were reporting if they're able to feel when somebody's looking at them, even though they could not see the person. Titchener performed a series of lab experiments that only found negative results. This effect has been the subject of contemporary attention from parapsychologists, blah, blah, blah. And then it goes on how every couple of decades it gets revived and then it gets dunked again.
Still doesn't explain ninja powers.
Wow. Yeah. We can get to that next.
Because I know the feeling. Not in the corner of my eye.
Wow. Well, maybe your brown eye.
I'm serious.
Yeah, I don't believe you.
Have you never sensed, not necessarily somebody staring at you, because that's something different. Just sensed a presence, a person?
Yeah, I'm actually totally on board with me feeling that somebody is around, as in I have the belief and I'm not able to account for it and it being right. All of those things are compatible, and it's something that we've understood for a long time. That's why I brought up blind sight. We see things that we're not aware that we're seeing.
Right. I'm not saying it's magic or anything. I think it is probably some kind of sense or some sense that we're not fully conscious of, fully aware of, and maybe could never really measure.
Yeah, that's right.
Might be even be smell or some subtle hearing.
It could, yeah. Well, in some cases, they found that it's actually changes in air pressure and it affects your sense of balance.
Right.
So, like if you're in a dark room, you can detect that a door is opening because the pressure changes affects our inner ear. And so we're like, oh, something weird happened. And oh yeah, it turned out that some so-called imperceptible thing happened.
Yeah, even silent movement. Something moving silently. You can feel the pressure change.
Energy.
What is sugar here?
Not really. I've heard about these gaze detectors though.
Gaze detector.
Gaze detectors, yeah.
My gaze detector goes off like mad around you, JJ.
I thought they were a myth.
It looks like, yeah, it looks like gaze detection is pretty cool, but it looks like it just shows you that, that people tend to assume that they are being stared at. Looks like they did some tests with dark sunglasses.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Dark sunglasses are ominous enough to make you paranoid no matter what, whether they're staring at you or not. These, I don't know, they sound like, I don't know if you could call them studies, but they seem to be a little bit uncontrolled. Literally, scientifically uncontrolled.
Well, they do controlled studies for things like the psychic staring effect, and just overwhelmingly have negative results.
I just assume everybody's staring at me.
Well, this all started with Reiki. How did it get sidetracked to all this stuff? Whatever.
Okay, another thing. I've had Reiki.
Move the goalposts.
I've had a couple different kinds of Reiki. And the one where I was looking forward to it and she didn't touch me, I was disappointed. But afterwards, I felt better.
So you had the hovering Reiki?
Mm-hmm. First time I had it, it was called Reiki, but it was a good old-fashioned massage.
Why'd you say that weird?
Because it was really hard and deep.
Ugh.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all that people feel better after a Reiki session.
I don't
I mean,
understand the hovering one though.
I didn't expect it to work. Or I didn't expect to feel anything. I was really surprised.
So you had both kinds of Reiki, right? Touch and non-touch?
Yes, those two kinds.
And hands down, the touch one was better?
Yeah.
Yeah. And would you call it Reiki, not massage?
It was called Reiki.
What would you qualify it as?
Massage.
Really, no difference?
It was, I mean, it's a rubbing. It's a back, I call it a back rub. How's that? Although I think he did my legs too. I don't remember that one. It was long and I passed out afterwards. I had to take a nap.
Sounds awesome.
I was so drained. Nobody wants to touch that. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah, we'll let that hang.
Let it hang.
Do any of your masseuses or Reiki practitioners go to any kind of like support group?
I don't know. The hovering Reiki was a friend of a friend, and a lady, and I didn't bone her. How's that?
Huh.
What?
Oh, good for her.
Well, I mean, I think I'd let her down, but I wasn't into her. But I was still amazed. And it could have been that just sitting relaxed like that for that amount of time made me feel better. Had nothing to do with anything else.
My only experience with like Reiki is I had a aunt who was into all that weird shit, you know, and it always made like a huge impression just going to her house because it smelled weird and the lights were weird, and there's always like you know, Indian music in the background or whatever, or like techno Indian music. I don't know how to explain it, but all that, you know, so it made like a deep impression, and I wouldn't be surprised if in that sort of setting, uh, like a like a Reiki session would be very impactful in some way or another. But I'd
Right.
still rather have a massage for sure.
Same. Now, I've also had Qigong, which also, I think, well, this didn't involve any touching. I think there's Qigong where you do touch, maybe.
What is it?
It's like Reiki. It's no touch, energy touching. I don't know.
Have you seen those like weird martial arts practitioners that like airbend at each other?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? They like throw air, I mean, I think it's energy, I think.
Chi balls.
Is that what they're called? Or are you making that up?
No. Yeah, throwing
They're called Hadoukens.
chi balls. Energy.
Rasengan.
Bullshito.
Bullshito.
I will hit you with my Hosushitu.
Hosushitu.
Was it Tom?
No.
Okay.
No.
It would have been funny in a Korean, whatever.
Racist.
Yeah, it's fucking racist.
I know. I'm sorry.
It's not fucking racist.
It would have sounded really good hearing it being pronounced officially if it was Korean.
I can't believe, like, they just said it's racist, and you said, I know.
Well, it's
I
a little
felt
bit.
kind of racist saying it. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
I said it anyway.
Hope Hogtie's okay.
It wasn't meant to be, though.
Of course. That was definitely a great conversation, I'd say, compared to what the fuck we've been subject to recently.
What the fuck?
I think I'm one to talk, I know, of all people, but I think we just need to promote, like, just calming down a little bit.
I want to talk more about ESP. I don't think there's any good evidence to show what. I don't think there's any good evidence to show what Concrete is saying about how. What I've seen, they did studies in like the 1930s and in 19th century and stuff, but then since then they've really gone away from that or whatever. But what I will show you is there are lots of good studies on ESP going on currently, including this one. And you can watch this great segment on the Colbert Report. They interview him. Daryl Bem, Cornell University, MIT, was able to basically prove in the most prestigious of scientific journals that by giving people, arousing people by telling them they're gonna see a picture of a naked woman or something, this arousal can let them 53% of the time choose between two closed doors where the nudity is. So, and that's statistically very significant.
I don't believe that.
Look at Colbert Report. I just posted it in general chat. Suck a dick. It's right there.
Sugar, calm down.
Okay. Anyways,
Do I have to watch the Colbert Report? Is there something I can read instead?
Well, if you don't take my word for it, then that's what you're gonna have to do, or look it
I
up
have to
yourself.
watch.
Daryl Bem. All right, you can do either of those, but I'll tell you. So yeah, he had seen that there was a lot of scientific research to show that people, when you told them they were about to see a pornographic picture, their whole body would light up even before you showed them the picture. And so he was trying, since the dawn of time, people have sort of tried to say that people could predict the future, right? through energetic senses or quantum physics or whatever, time and space, whatever. For as long as there's been humans, there's people that have been like, oh, she's psychic or she can see the future. Anyways, he was very passionate. This is a very prestigious professor, and he was passionate about studying some of these things, whatever. And the big study he did was this one, was that when he titillated people. So when people weren't titillated, when they were said, oh, this is just a nothing picture, they weren't able to predict where the picture was going to be, door 1 or door 2. But when titillated, 53% of the time, and that is very statistically significant. In casinos, 53% of the time means trillions of dollars, big bucks. So the difference between 50% and 53% is huge. Anyways, read all about it, look at it, boom, ESP, real, people can do psychic shit. Suck a dick.
Time traveling porn.
I guess I've just never been titillated enough to become psychic.
Yeah, or you just don't have the gift. You aren't religiously woke enough. You haven't done enough prayer meditation. You're very what we call a low vibration individual.
Actually, it doesn't look like Daryl Bam's. It doesn't look like any of his subjects were, well, whatever the hell you just said. Looks like they were just grad students.
Titillated? Yes, he turned them on to bring out their psychic abilities. He said, I'm going to show you a pornographic picture behind curtain 1 or curtain 2. Guess which curtain? Right?
Joe, did you understand? Joe, did you understand what I just said? He might be gone. Yeah. I'm reading the first article. It looks like there's some severe criticisms of his methodology, including throwing away data. And after this, they've asked him to register his research first because he was doing a lot of sketchy things.
Yeah, a lot of skeptics. He has since replicated his research numerous times, and these are all published in the most prestigious of prestigious journals. So clearly, he did meet a rigorous scientific threshold. You would agree, right?
Well, how could I agree with that? I've just found out about this from the Colbert Report.
Well, he got published in I forget which journal it was, but one that turns away 90% of all scientific, submitted papers. So it's pretty good. Pretty good.
That says that in this Colbert Report.
Yeah, watch it. It's hilarious. It's great. He interviews him for the second half. It's a great interview. This guy is clearly, very, very intellectually impressive. Very prestigious.
Colbert Report is comedy, right?
Satire. It's a mixture. It's like Bill Maher or like last week tonight. It's like John Oliver. You think John Oliver isn't informative and funny? You think that the Daily Show wasn't?
I do, but
thank you.
But Colbert Report is less informative and more
Wrong.
jokes.
Absolutely wrong. Colbert Report was
Wrong?
very informative. Yes, it's extremely informative. It was just as many jokes. There was no. You can't say that the Colbert Report.
Well,
was
maybe
more
informative is
comedy.
the wrong word here.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
I mean, presenting somebody's opinion isn't the same as saying it's true.
No, but his research being published in the most prestigious of academic journals does imply.
What's the journal?
Does imply truth. You understand?
What's the journal?
I forget the name. I'll look it up right now. It says.
I didn't know this. I didn't know this, but it looks like. So Sugar's onto something. It's not exactly what he thinks it is, but it looks like this study on ESP.
Oh, it's Daryl Bem.
Yeah, was one of the first that kicked off the When I'm 64 movement about the replication crisis.
It's also the first article I found when I Googled studies showing ESP. On Slate. It's the article.
Yes,
I'm reading the Slate article. It's really big, but I'm reading through it right now.
Yeah, well, I remembered seeing this guy on Colbert. Anyways, so there you go. Suck a dick, everybody.
Anyways,
what's the prestigious science journal?
I don't fucking know the name. A journal of something. nerd scientist.
So here's the finding in the Slate article. I'm towards the bottom now, JJ. It's plain to see that BAM achieved his major goal to promote replications of the research into ESP. As far as he and other parapsychologists are concerned, these replications have so far been equivocal. Now, do you know what equivocal means, Sugar?
The same.
No, I'm so glad I asked this question. It actually means the opposite. It means ambiguous. You're thinking of univocal. Equivocal means
Like
it's
equivocally.
uncertain or so. Okay, good. So as far as he, meaning Bem, and other parapsychologists are concerned, these replications of ESP studies have so far been equivocal, aka ambiguous.
Wow.
Wow.
I don't know about that. I'd have to look
Oh,
at that.
I'm just reading I'm reading a quote, I guess. But anyway,
Yeah,
that's more or less Bem's position.
I don't think that's how he would describe his research.
Here's how he'd describe it. Here's a quote from Bem, okay?
You would agree, right? That's not how he would describe his research.
Well, I'll just tell you how he describes it, and it seems to be kind of a middle position. The critics said that I put psychologists in an uncomfortable position and that they'd have to revise their views of the physical world or their views on research practice, he told me. I think both are true. I still believe in psi, but I also think that the methods in the field need to be cleaned up. Both Schooler, who is another parapsychologist, and Bem now propose that replications might be more likely to succeed when they're performed by believers rather than skeptics. It just goes on about him saying. So it actually doesn't look like he's been able to replicate it yet. They haven't done it.
So this is how research goes. I mean, what else to tell you, man?
What? Well,
what was the prestigious journal it was published in?
Why do you keep asking me this name? I don't fucking know the name of every.
Oh, I figured somebody would have come across it by now. It wasn't the Harvard Gazette.
The Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. And Daryl Bem teaches at Cornell. So yeah, this certainly looks interesting, but it looks interesting for a different reason to me, which is because it looks like, again, this highlights the well-known replication problem, which is a big issue, but I don't think it shows what you think it does, or at least it hasn't really yet.
I'd run a study that'd prove ESP. I'd get all the most wokest dudes I know.
All right, can I hold on? Can I read? Wait, can I read something else that's interesting? I've tried to be fair, by the way, Sugar. I'm literally just reading this for the first time. So, there's a group of parapsychologists that wanted to try to replicate it. Okay, so I'm just going to take a moment. I'm just going to read about the replication study. Okay. In order to test this proposition and to help resolve the problem of the dueling replications, Bem joined up with Marilyn Schlitz and the French neuroscientist Arnaud Delorme to have another go at finding precognition in the lab with funding from the owner of a Portuguese pharmaceutical firm who happens to believe in ESP. They tried to replicate one of Bem's original experience on retrocausal priming. The idea was that people might be quicker to react to pleasant photographs when they're primed after the fact with a pleasant word. So in other words, you show them a picture, they describe their state, and then you give them a word like love, and that retrodicts how they answered. Okay. So to distinguish this replication from earlier attempts, Bem, Schlitz, and Delorme took extra steps to rule out the possibility of any bias. They plan to run the same battery of tests that it does in different labs and to publish the design of the experiment and its planned analysis ahead of time, so there could be no quibbling over the garden of forking paths. They presented the results last summer at the most recent annual meeting of the Parapsychological Association. According to their pre-registered analysis, there was no evidence at all for ESP, nor was there any correlation between the attitudes of the experimenters whether they were believers or skeptics when it came to psi and the outcomes of the study. In summary, their large-scale multi-site, pre-registered replication ended in failure.
Well, you don't hit every ball that you shoot. You know how many studies failed to prove the shit that we now all believe is
This was
commonplace?
your study.
No, I cited the one that did prove it. 53% published
That,
in the
but
Journal
you
of
also said it
Sociological
had been.
Psychology.
You also said it had been replicated, and I just told you that they're planning on doing it, at least
He's
as
tried
of
to
this article.
replicate it he's tried to replicate it. I'm sure that some had hit. Yeah. You
How
cited one.
how
You
sure are
cited
you?
one. You cited one that didn't hit. Good. Congratulations. I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked at all. Do
Well,
you know how many?
can I read the replication study then?
You just read one. You just read it.
Yeah, this one was a failure. Do you have the one where his results were successfully replicated?
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, fine.
I'm not trying to be a prick. You're just saying a lot of things. And the first thing that I read, which was a very long form article on Slate, said that it ended in failure. So I'm just skeptical.
One replication. And then
Yeah, so give me a different one.
Also, I doubt that he would say it ended in failure. He'd be like, "Oh, we made this mistake" or something.
No, that's what it says.
Would you like to hear a personal quote from Bem?
Yes.
1 second. This is how he responded to the Slate article. He said, "I'm all for rigor, but I prefer other people do it. I see its importance. It's always fun for some people, but I don't have the patience for it." The article continues, "It's been hard for him," he said, "to move into a field where the data counts for so much. If you looked at all my past experiments, they're always rhetorical devices. I gathered data to show how my point could be made. I used data as a point of persuasion, and I never worried about will this replicate or will it not."
Oh fuck.
Wow.
This
Okay,
guy is a
here we
fucking charlatan.
go. Here we go. Oh man, who was
From
this
the
guy?
horse's mouth, he's a charlatan.
Who was this
Does
guy?
anyone disagree with that?
That's it.
Oh, you are about to get the truth hammer
Oh,
dropped
I
so
can't
hard on
wait.
your face.
So can't wait.
All right, here is PubMed. Okay. So since that 2011 study, here's PubMed in 2015. All right, a meta study of 90 experiments from 33 laboratories in 14 countries, which all tried to replicate his original 2011 study, and they proved without a doubt they all
Without a doubt.
the vast majority of them all went over the threshold, the 50% threshold.
Did we all just
Oh
over the fact that
shit!
the guy
Truth
who did the experiment-
bomb! Truth bomb!
Are we just gonna move over the fact
Oh.
that are we just gonna move over the fact that the guy who did the experiment literally says he doesn't care about replication or rigor?
I don't know what that means. I just posted
What?
it to you.
You don't know what
I don't
replication or rigor
understand.
means?
I don't understand the words coming out of your mouth. I think that they are based in falsehood. Now I've shown
Based
you.
in falsehood.
I've shown
God,
you.
I
I've
fucking hate
shown
sugar.
you.
So he's just gonna like deflect to this new
Yeah,
thing, right?
no. You got nothing. You got some stupid quote that who knows what that means.
Okay, wait, hold on.
I got PubMed 90 studies from 33 labs from 14 countries, all replicating the same fucking study that he did in 2011 over a period of 4 years, in which the meta study concludes that it's real. That's what I fucking got, buddy. Okay, you ain't got shit.
It proves that it's real. How? How does it prove that it's real?
I think JHC wanted to say something.
Well, I don't really see that definitive statement. I'm trying to read this article. I'm
looking through it.
having difficulty finding that.
In the Slate article?
No, in the article that he posted, the meta study, feeling the future meta-analysis of the. I'm having a hard time understanding what the conclusion here is.
What do you mean? It is a meta study, a meta-analysis of forced choice precognition experiments.
No, I know that. I'm trying to find out what the conclusion is.
It's
What
gonna
is
be towards the bottom.
what is Sugar's claim?
ESP is real.
Oh my God.
I
Really?
thought that was concrete. I thought that was concrete who
Really?
said that. And by the way, I just got out of the bank. How long have I been gone for? I would absolutely prefer to sit in a room and just have a little tete-a-tete with concrete and sugar for 2 hours than spend 5 more minutes talking to some asshole that works in a bank.
Concrete left, but Sugar is still hearing. Sugar is saying that ESP is real. He has presented Daryl Bem, who did the porn time travel thing. Is that what it was? And then now he's presented a meta study, which is posted in general chat.
Here is the conclusion. Here's the conclusion of the meta study I posted you.
Where is the conclusion?
The data increasingly compel the conclusion that it really is like that. It really is like we do have a precognition.
Where do you see that?
He's reading
It's in the
the.
conclusion of the meta study.
It's actually
That's
not.
the
It's
general discussion
It's in
portion.
yeah, it's in the general discussion. I saw that part.
So
I-
there we go. Get wrecked. 90 studies, all replicating his study, and this meta study authors say he was correct.
There doesn't seem to be a conclusion.
Boom!
There doesn't seem to be a conclusion.
Well, that's
There
what I'm
is no
trying to find.
conclusion.
I'm not actually interested in the general discussion of ESP. I just want to read it like a summary of the meta.
This is the summary. The fact that exact and modified replications of Bem's experiments produce comparable, statistically significant results, thus implies generality across stimuli, protocol, subject samples, and national cultures. Moreover, the different protocols themselves can be viewed as conceptual replications of the overarching hypothesis that individuals are capable of anomalous anticipation of random future events. It's as clear as day. It's right there in your face. Suck a dick.
Sugar, calm
That's not the
down.
conclusion either.
I'm excited on victory. This is my rebel war yell. I've crushed these non-believers.
Please.
So here's something from one of the meta-analysis studies at the very bottom. One of the things, and I don't know if this is a conclude. It doesn't seem to be a conclusion, but we should care only about reproducibility. There are some difficult problems with reproducibility in investigations of PSI in general. Although I do not think that retroactive influence of future events is PSI at all. We do not know delicate physical and psychological mechanisms that may work and provide quite small but significant effect size. One could offer at least several ways to overcome such weak reproducibility. We should use longitude for during many days and repeats for every participant and take into account different variables like psychological state and outer influences like weather and social events. So it seems to be that the only thing that we can really conclude from this, since there is no conclusion, is that
Wrong. They say it time and time again.
Sugar.
Why are you letting her be dishonest like this?
It's my job to make sure the conversation is moderated, not hold
Being
people.
dishonest.
Okay, then point
She's
out the
reading from the
dishonesty.
thing you linked, Sugar.
Yeah, I'm just reading
No,
from
she's
the thing
reading that they
says.
need to do more research, and then she's extrapolating upon that her own biases and nonsense. So
Okay.
you notice when she stopped reading the quote and started interjecting her own beliefs and nonsense, right?
Yeah, well, you know what,
You
Sugar?
notice that sharp
How would
contrast?
that be dishonest?
So
That's
I'm
just
going to I'm giving you a direct quote, and I can do, there's 10 in this article. It says over and over again, the fact that the exact modified replication of Bem's experiments produced comparable, statistically significant results, thus implies generality across stimuli, protocols, subject samples, and national cultures. The different protocols themselves can be viewed as conceptual replications of the overarching hypothesis that individuals are capable of anticipating random future events anomalously. It cannot be clearer. It cannot be clearer than that. Stop her from lying. So we have one study.
Can I read?
That we have
I
one
understand
study
it. Can
that
I
was
talk about that
published.
study?
We have one
Sugar.
study. Let me finish. We have one study that was published that implies ESP. All right, published in the most prestigious of all journals in the country. Okay, by MIT Cornell professor, researchers. Then we have 90 replication studies carried out across 33 laboratories and 14 countries in the following 5 years after that study takes place. Then we have this meta-analysis looking at all of the studies of replication and saying, yes,
Okay.
they
Yeah, that
all
part's
meet,
actually okay. Let's
they
stop for a
all
second.
meet
You
the
said a lot.
threshold
Sugar, wait.
that has been established the first time. Thank
Let's
you.
stop for a second. Let's stop for a second. Okay. So I was actually able to find. I don't see anything here. Look, Sugar has posted a study that passed review. They didn't find any problems with his research methods. We can just grant that. Now, according to the editor. So I did find, and this was relatively recent, right? Or a couple of years ago, it was published. And it looks like there have been some responses, but because it does take a couple of years for other people to replicate it, there are no other published responses to this meta study yet in that same journal, but it looks like one is forthcoming. So I'm one of the responders, EJ Wagenmaker, and I'll get his credentials right now. He's a Dutch mathematical psychologist at the University of Amsterdam.
The meta study
So
I
he has.
posted includes
Please
this
wait.
article.
Sugar.
No, it doesn't.
Please.
No, it doesn't.
It does. I can screenshot you right now. I'm reading all about it. Wagamator 2012. God, get
Okay,
on
good.
board,
So
bro.
this is
Get on
written.
board.
This is written in 2014. So you're wrong. It is not included in that article. Okay, so the first issue is that the authors, aka of this 2015 article that you're talking about by BIM, they wish to study replications of BIM's work. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so let's talk about
Look in general chat. Look in general chat right now. You're telling me that this Watermaker did one in 2012 and then did one in 2014? You think he
Yes.
did 2 in 2 years?
I'm literally reading it right now.
Yeah,
June 25th of 2014.
I think you're wrong about your dating. You think Wanamaker, this guy, all he has to do in his life is try and replicate this thing to failure?
What
Like,
what
you
are we
think that's what he
doing right
does?
now? What I don't want to have that discussion.
I'm questioning your dating of the article you're giving right now. That's what I'm questioning. Because I have clear as day, you can see in general chat, cited in the meta study where they address this study that you're talking about, Wanamaker.
I already told you.
Non-significant effects.
Wait, hold on.
That they included
It's different.
in their
One,
meta-analysis
I can pull it up.
assessment. Yeah, and
Stop
you're
for a
saying-
second.
so
Stop.
you're saying.
Stop. No, I'm saying there's a second article. You're right. You were right at the beginning. He wrote one in 2012 and he wrote one in 2014. Right?
Well, okay. All right, let's see.
Okay. Jeez.
This just seems
So,
this Wanamaker
No,
guy
let's
doesn't have
read
much
it.
to do with his life. Am I right?
Well, actually, it looks like he publishes all the time, and this is one of the things that he writes about is following around this guy and responding to it, which is pretty normal because he keeps doing new studies. So this guy keeps responding.
Well, I'm confused. Ben's
So
study
real quick,
took 10 years.
Why do these people think that? Okay, JHC wants to read something. It's not their time to interject in the fucking conversation and say stupid shit. Anyway.
Who's doing that? Was that you, JJ?
yeah, everybody needs to
Fuck
kind
off,
of just
JHC.
Okay, so right now,
Um,
JHC and Sugar are having a conversation. If someone would like to add something, they can. But JHC was in the middle of something, so we're gonna let JHC finish. Go ahead, JHC.
All right. So, okay. So 2011, this article came out by BIM. There was a lot of problems with it. So he, partly that was exposed by EJ Wagenmakers. Okay. This Dutch mathematical psychologist. And in a response, or partly a response, it's even cited by BIM. He wrote a new article, and it was submitted for review in 2014, and it was eventually published in 2015. In June 25th of 2014, Wagenmakers wrote that he is writing a response, but he has some initial concerns for this article that BIM wrote in 2015. So what I'd like to do is read through some of those concerns without being asked if this is a real article that I'm reading or not. Okay? So worry number 1. The authors wish to study replications of BEM's work. This means they should only consider studies that were inspired by BEM 2011. A quick look at table A1 shows that very many studies and the meta-analysis preceded BEM, sometimes by as many as 10 years. It is possible that the earlier studies had advanced access to BEM's protocol, but if this is the case, it should be made clear from the outset. So this is a worry, it's not a rebuttal. Later, he says a related worry is that skeptics, like himself, only got interested after the publication of BEM's 2011, this major paper. Hence, I believe there may be a difference between replications pre-BEM, conducted and reported by proponents only, and post-BEM, conducted by proponents and skeptics alike. This is a factor that should be taken into account. Perhaps the size of the effect suddenly decreased after 2011. Indeed, when I consider only those psi replications that have been published post-BEM, and then he gives a big list of all of them. Indeed, when I consider blah, 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 including below is the table of the results. Okay, so I am going to show you, this is after, these are replication studies. So he suggests doing a meta-analysis after BEM's 2011 work, okay? And if we just isolate it to those, which are done by proponents and skeptics alike, the effect is nothing. There's no effect. So it's not, since 2011, this is not replicated by these studies. And
Yeah,
by my
wrong,
count,
wrong,
there's like
wrong,
13 of them.
Sugar.
Well, he's just going on and on and on. He has to
Are
end
you
it.
saying that I'm lying?
Yeah. No, I think that you're citing one study, right? From a
Stop. Hold on. I'm not interested from studying one study.
Whoa. I
Stop.
listened to him patiently
Stop
for
a second.
forever.
I'm
Where's
not
the
done with my
moderation?
point because
Where's
you're
the
changing
moderation?
the subject.
You took too long.
I am
Sugar.
At some point, you
providing.
got to wrap it up, buddy.
I am
Sugar.
providing a meta-analysis of replication studies done post BEM, and I gave you the reason why this particular
Where is your
skeptic.
link? Where's your link? Post it.
There you go. Now, if you go down, you can see that the effect of these studies.
This is not a meta-analysis.
Scroll down to the results of the studies done
Studies.
post 2011.
So this guy does 4. All right, he does BEM and he does 3 replications. All right, so I've posted you
No,
an article.
I see one.
Yeah, so why are you believing this and not my meta study, which encompasses 90 replications?
Did you hear? Hold on. Did you hear why? Hold on. Is there anybody listening? Is there anybody who heard why this skeptic only uses studies after 2011?
My study was from 2015 meta study.
I know, but what is the data included in that meta-analysis? How far does it extend back?
This critique.
Answer that question. Hold on. I want to make sure that you're following along.
Where's the moderation? This guy can just talk as much as he wants and over-talk me as much as I want. I'm
He asked you a question.
Look, Sugar, Sugar, the conversation, right, is continued on a path where JHC, right, thinks that you don't understand something. He wants to make sure that you do. So just answer his question.
I understand very clearly. He's posted an.
Prove it to us by answering his question, please.
What is his question?
Go ahead,
Oh
JHC.
my God.
Just please.
Why?
No meta.
Why does the skeptic only want to include replication studies from 2011? I read it.
Right?
And on 2011 and on.
I don't know why.
Okay, here's why. A quick look at table A1, which again I can post for you. Okay, hold on, give me a second. Everybody can have this with the effect listed in the far right hand column and the number of people being studied under N. Worry 1. A quick look at table A1 seen in chat shows that very many studies in the meta-analysis preceded BEM, and by that he means the 2011 initial paper, sometimes by as many as 10 years. It's possible that the earlier studies had advanced access to BEM's protocols, which we know are faulty, which is why he wrote the 2015 follow-up. But if this is the case, it should be made clear from the outset. A related worry is that skeptics only got interested after the publication of BEM 2011. Hence, I believe that there may be a difference between replications pre-BEM, aka 2011, conducted and reported by proponents only, and post-BEM, conducted by proponents and skeptics alike. This is a factor that should be taken into account. Perhaps the size of the effect suddenly decreased, which is what we see.
Look, I know everything.
Did you
you're saying.
understand that?
I really
Yes.
hope you understood that point.
He said it's not important. It's not an important fucking point.
It is
You keep
important,
saying this
actually.
point like it's important. It's just fucking word vomit that some
Sugar,
critic
look,
is
sugar,
saying.
guys,
It
hold on,
doesn't
please.
mean
Guys,
anything.
sugar, no, Kathleen, wait, Kathleen, wait, please. Sugar,
He's
if
saying
you
he's
think,
saying that I think that studies after this will contain more critics than proponents. Is that what he's saying? That's basically what he's saying, right?
Repeat that. Repeat
Is
that.
that is that the big genius point that he said? He's saying that
Repeat.
he's saying replications after this will contain more critics than proponents. Is that his big, brilliant breakthrough that took 20 minutes for you to articulate?
And thus,
how
perhaps,
did it take you 20 minutes to articulate that?
Sugar,
but you still didn't get it. I still had to repeat myself.
English.
I still had to repeat myself because you didn't listen.
Learn how to take in information.
Sugar,
and
chill
pronounce.
with the meta, my dude. Relax.
There's no meta.
I
This
would
is
like
on this
to
issue.
interject. I would like to interject because I found something on Daryl Bem's. I went and I looked at his research, and I looked to see if anybody, while JHC was conversing with Sugar, I looked to see if there was any anybody had done any kind of repetition, if anybody had tried to repeat his results. So from the in the PLOS1 in the Psychology Today magazine, along with a couple other extremely reputable sources, attempted to, because they were obviously interested in this work, attempted to recreate these things. It was agreed that a replication attempt, and this I'm reading, it was agreed that a replication attempt would take place at each of the three institutions. All three attempts would follow the same procedures as those used by BEM, including the same number of participants, and the experiments would be pre-registered. Regardless of outcome, we would write up our results and submit them for publication. And I can submit the results in the channel in a minute. As can be seen from our published reports in the PLS01, none of us produced results that supported the effect reported by BEM. Neither did Eric Robinson in a paper published in July 11th.
You're just
in the
reading
Journal
from the same critique.
Please don't
Stop
interrupt
him.
me.
Sugar.
Please don't interrupt me.
Same critique.
Published in July 2011 in the Journal of Society for Psychological
just
Research.
reading verbatim.
If you're
from
going
the
to
same
continue to
critique.
overtalk people, you will be muted. Please stop.
Our failure to replicate BEM's results will no doubt not come as a surprise to many readers, as it will have assumed from the outset the alleged paranormal effect was not real. There was also shown doubts about the other effects reported by BEM, as would be expected given the controversial claims. Even so, I find myself in agreement with Professor Tal Yarkani's comments in response to BEM's papers. It is important to note that none of these concerns are necessarily terrible individually, but when taken in context, it is bad to peek at your data. But data peeking alone probably isn't going to produce 9 different false positives, nor is one tailed test or constructing measures on the fly. But when you combine data peeking, liberal thresholds, study recombination, flexible hypotheses, and selective measures, you have a perfect recipe for spurious results. And it goes on and on and on to give the different responses to Daryl Bem, the different attempts to recreate in the exact same manner what he attempted to do. None of them were able to do. So we can rest assured that, as usual, ESP is absolute nonsense. And I will now post that article that I was reading from, and
Yes,
it has hyperlinks to all the studies.
Wrap it up.
That were
Wrap it up.
Yeah, Sugar, you'll know I'm done speaking because noises will start coming out of my mouth. I mean, I don't know what the hell has gotten into you, but you're acting like a child.
Kathleen, if you could conclude your point so other people could jump in, that'd be appreciated.
Thank you. Finally, some moderation. What a fucking miracle.
Sugar,
Okay.
thank you for your input.
Do your fucking job. Shut the fuck up. Okay, Kathleen, listen to me. All right. You are reading from one. You are reading from one critique. I have posted in general chat a meta-analysis that includes this critique and the 3 other critiques you mentioned.
May I offer, Sugar? May I offer to the room?
Why are
that
you
we go
interrupting
back? You're not done. Go ahead. Sure. Sorry, I didn't know
Yeah,
if
I'm
you were
not
done.
fucking done. God.
Go ahead.
Well, you're just repeating yourself.
Mao Zedong here. Yeah, I'm repeating. The same way that Kathleen just read a whole fucking article that GHC had already posted and cited from.
So you want us to suffer your repeating after we have to
repeating
suffer
their point,
Dan's
JJ?
repeating?
That's
JJ,
okay.
was
We
that
don't have
repeating
to.
their point? All right,
Look,
thank you. Anyways, I have a meta-analysis that includes these critiques that you have cited, and it includes 90 replications, all right, from 33 laboratories across 14 countries, in which this meta-analysis, including your critiques that you just cited, says that the overall clear analysis of this data is that the experiment does work and is replicated.
I have
So,
one question,
suck a
Sugar.
dick,
What
Kathleen.
are the dates on those 90 experiments?
The meta-analysis from 2015.
Yeah, what are the dates on those 90 experiments?
I think from 2011 to 2014.
I think
No,
that's incorrect, Sugar.
you're not understanding. I wish you did so very much, Sugar.
What do you mean? Where does it say that?
Yeah, go look at the fucking date, Sugar. The point that she was making was that the majority of those replications, as you're calling them, happened before 2011.
And performed by who? JJ.
By
performed
whom?
by who?
Proponents of psi.
Okay, and then what happened? Hold on, JJ. What happened after 2011?
First of all,
Skeptics got involved. Skeptics
Yes.
got a hold of the 2011 study and went, let's check this out. I'm skeptical. And then they started doing replications.
Yeah,
and
nowhere.
The results,
Yeah, and JJ, what happened?
The results were not so good.
Oh, weird. Okay, so maybe when we take the 15 or so that have been done recently, and you average them with the bulk of them done by proponents from well before, yeah, on average, it comes out that, hey, maybe ESP is kind of real. But when you control for when they were performed and you start including skeptics, it turns out that, whoa, there's no effect.
Can you explain to me how this Wanamaker is critiquing a meta-analysis in 2014 that was published in 2015?
Oh, that one's easy. I will tell you. When it was published in 2015, what happens to a scientific journal before it gets published? Anybody?
Peer review.
It's
peer review.
It gets posted to peer review, and it was posted to the website, by the way, in 2014, prior to it being published in the journal. So it was open for review and criticisms from people before it was officially published. And when it gets published, that means it passed peer review and the editor signed off on it, which happened in 2015.
So it did get, so it passed. Let me finish. So it passed peer review and got published.
Yes.
Despite this hater. Oh, so you've wrecked yourself. Thank you.
Okay.
So I have now posted several links to actual scientists from Edinburgh and California that attempted to recreate these things. One of the things was that it seems one of the comments was that it seems that interoceanic travel reduces the capacity for ESP. Because the results didn't function by the time they got to Edinburgh, which I thought was kind of cheeky and funny. But again, I'm just posting these things, and basically all you got to do is type in Daryl Bem science studies confirmed or disproved, and you just get study after study after paper that say that this couldn't be replicated.
Ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I've posted you published articles that
that's just where we're at.
Wait, hold on. Wait, hold on. We understand what's happening here. This is all very clear, right? Before 2011, there were all kinds of studies being done, and they were done by people who were psi researchers, and it turns out that they all leaned towards this kind of spooky psi conclusion, lean towards it. After that, when skeptics were like, whoa, that's crazy, and because of the replication crisis, a bunch of people got involved and failed to replicate his findings. So it is true that if you average it all up, because of the lead that the parapsychological psi researchers have and the number that they have, yeah, it's true. It tends to lean towards it in a meta-analysis of everything. There are reasons, though, to reject pre-2011 analyses of it, or so-called replications. If we only look at ones that are done with people who are like, whoa, this is crazy, let's see if we can do this, the results are nothing. So maybe there's some sort of weird way, Sugar, for you to understand that, which is like, oh no, Psi wants to remain secret and they're onto us, so let's start throwing them negative results. But it seems like probably what happened is there were psychological researchers that did this study, and you're right, all over the world, in all sorts of different labs, but the individual studies themselves had all kinds of problems, but BEM still continues to include them in his meta-analysis.
When you say
Tainted
problems,
data.
included in those are
This meta-analysis isn't by BEM.
varying protocols, correct?
This
That's
meta-analysis.
correct. In fact,
Did you hear that, Sugar?
This
I can
meta-analysis
list.
isn't by BEM.
Did you hear that, Sugar?
I can list what the problems are. Okay. So here's one of them. He lists the worries of why we should maybe leave
You've
out
already
these
read this.
pre-2011.
You've
No, I
already read
haven't.
this.
I
Yes,
have
you
not
have.
read this. Okay, what are the worries?
So boring.
What are the worries? What
the-
are the
no,
worries with the studies pre-2011? Go ahead.
That people expected to see it.
And well, that's 1/5 of it.
Yeah, that's right.
But I haven't read it.
I was just talking about
Here,
though.
I'm sure the air wasn't the right temperature. Yada yada.
What? No,
So-
I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it anyway. This is the reasons why BEM shouldn't have included them. Okay. When the individual studies tend to be biased towards discovering psi, the meta-analysis is useless and will just confirm the presence of researcher bias rather than psi. Some of the studies that tried to replicate BEM prevented cherry picking and data torture by using pre-registration. This is talking about the since 2011. Only with pre-registration can we be somewhat certain that the results are clean. BEM zone studies, for instance, are tainted by all kinds of post hoc procedures in order to present the results in the most favorable light. This was common practice in the field, and it still is for a subject that is contentious as psi. Only studies with pre-registration should be allowed in the meta-analysis.
Yeah. Okay. So in this meta-analysis that I have,
what is pre-registration? What does that
in
mean?
In the meta-analysis I have 19. They include, out of their 90 experiments, they include 19 attempted replications of BEM's retroactive physical experiment that had previously been meta-analyzed by Gellick et al. So that brings it up to 27 post his study replications that they include in this meta study that I keep showing you.
And what did they find?
You keep brushing it off. They said very clearly in the conclusion that he's right.
Of the 27 alone? Because what I'm seeing is that he's not right.
How many times do I have to read it to you? Okay,
you're not understanding it.
They incorporated
JHC,
all
what is
this information.
pre-registration? What does that mean?
They incorporated all this information, GHC, all of it. You understand, right?
You can't rely on the ones done before
No,
2011, Sugar.
No, I'm asking GHC a question.
I've already told you. Okay.
Yes,
I will tell you again.
Stop we're talking. He keeps
You asked me a question.
He keeps citing a peer-reviewed critique, right? Which didn't stop this meta-analysis from getting published. So yes, you can keep. Every study has, critics and peer-reviewed critics. Yes, it doesn't. If the article
That's
still
not
gets
interesting.
if the article
There are some
still gets
peer-reviewed.
published, it's crossed the threshold. All right.
Cross the
You get
threshold
that,
of
right?
what?
Of scientific evidence.
No, I don't know what that
You
means.
understand how that works?
I don't know
If
what
an
that
article-
particular sentence
if an
means.
If an article is published in
Mhm.
prestigious journals, it
Mhm.
has crossed a threshold of scientific evidence. And so
Okay,
they've
good.
now-
Okay,
Yes.
so on that note, then the article that Kat posted saying we've debunked this is you take that to be scientific proof?
Well, now we have a. I'm not denying.
Okay,
that
good.
there's-
Yeah, you're right. So
I'm
now
not-
I'm
I'm
reading
not
a critique of the
denying- I'm not
2015 one. So
denying
drop that
there's-
point. That's useless.
I'm not denying that there's controversy, but for you to sit here and argue like there isn't evidence to the latter, to your opposing view, is ridiculous.
Hold
you
on.
keep saying
Wait,
there's
JJ,
no
have I
evidence.
said there's no evidence? Have I said there's no evidence to the latter when when you take into account all the studies going back to pre-2011? Have I said there's no evidence?
I didn't hear that. No.
No, because I didn't say it. What I
Kathleen did.
said,
Kathleen
what,
did.
what I
Kathleen did.
said is that post
didn't critique her.
2011, so what? What I said is that post 2011.
Well, she's in general chat right now saying it. Why don't you critique her? And
Can
say
I
that there is
please
evidence?
finish? What I said is very clear. When people start getting interested in this, the results changed. Boom.
Your article from 2011 is old and outdated, Kathleen.
2015 is what I'm reading from.
I'm talking to Kathleen.
Well,
you're just avoiding.
Yeah. But what do you mean? We've come to a crossroads, all right? You sit here. And there are critics of this research, and there are proponents of this research. And
that's
this
not
research-
informative. That's a stupid thing to say. Who cares about that?
Sugar, you hear what Jay?
Do you think
Sugar.
that me and you are going to come to the conclusions that these people have been debating about for decades?
What are you doing right now? Are you just gaslighting me? What's happening?
No,
Can we try?
I was
Can we try?
bringing
Sugar,
awareness.
sugar,
I was
sugar.
bringing
1 second.
awareness to the
Sugar.
scientific research on.
Sugar. Let's JC. Can you try to repeat the point just one last time to
No,
Sugar?
I think he gets it.
You think?
I think we could have him repeat it now. What's JHC's point, Sugar?
GHC read a critique. Apparently, he says it was from the peer review
I don't hear
process.
Sugar talking.
Why are you ever talking? He is Am I muted? No, I'm fine.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. He's reading from a critique that he says is from the peer review meta-analysis that I published. I'm not sure about that, but I'll take his word, I guess. This is all guessing. And in it, he's saying that this meta-analysis isn't good enough because it includes studies that were prior to the 2011 publishing,
yes,
as well as studies that were post.
Yes.
And I don't know about this critique, whatever. I know that even that this study, this meta-analysis that I've presented, passed the peer review part of the phase, got published.
Yes.
So it did meet a threshold.
Yes.
All right. And then their meta-analysis conclusion is that the research that he did, BEM, and 90 other research things they've done does show this phenomena is real.
Okay, good. I think you have it.
Yeah.
I want to point out. Oh, go ahead.
You're rejecting the other point of the criticism, but you are at least, I think you understand the situation. You just don't like the point that the results have changed since 2011. And I'm okay with that. That's progress.
JC is such
something
a good
like that.
teacher. Oh my god.
But you did skip the part that I thought Sugar might find interesting. That in that meta analysis you posted, it includes all these pre-2011 studies, right? Right, Sugar?
The data is tainted, Sugar.
Right, Sugar?
It includes also 30 post exact replications.
I'm not. It's
you're
irrelevant.
not
what I
interested
just
in
said.
those. Why are those irrelevant?
Because I just want you to understand that there's how much 60?
30.
No, pre 2011.
Yeah, probably.
Did those studies replicate BEM's experiment?
No, if you read the meta-analysis, they do similar things.
Similar, right? So again, they were different. They weren't replicating BEM. They might have been similar, but they were different protocols, procedures.
Yes, this is why this is called
it's a little dishonest to include those.
Yeah, well, apparently the people that publish journals like PubMed didn't feel it was that dishonest.
Right.
They felt it was good science. So there you go.
No, hold on. What they're interested in is, in a meta-analysis, is did he fudge the data? Did they fudge the data? The answer is no. My claim isn't that he fudged the data. Does he make an argument in here that's not supported by the evidence? The answer is no. And in fact, there is an editor's note that explains why it was published, because the editor understands what's happening, and they're saying, look, in spite of the issues, the paper that was submitted is good science. And I agree with that. But there's a different worry is that people aren't going to understand this in the way that the editor does, which is that things have changed since 2011. There are differences between pre and post 2011 studies. But
Yeah.
you're right, it passed peer review, and it's good that it did because it doesn't look like he made any methodological mistakes.
This is
So
the last
can I
thing I'm.
read?
This is the
Can I
last thing
read
I'm gonna say again. No, no.
this is
You should
this
thank
is a quote.
JHC for teaching you, by
This-
the way.
I'm gonna be
Yeah,
done after this. I'm gonna
this
finish.
is a
I'm gonna
quote
finish.
from the this is a quote from the guy who actually did the study. The
We
guy
heard it
himself,
already,
Mr. Bem. I'm all for rigor, but I prefer other people do it. I see
We've
its
heard this.
importance. Oh, you heard him admitting that he was his
Yeah.
his
Yeah,
stuff
he's
is
a
nonsense?
charlatan. Yeah, we read it earlier. And
Ridiculous.
Everything that you've read or pointed out,
Listen,
Kat, was pointed out
listen,
before you entered.
listen to his Colbert Report interview. Obviously not a charlatan. Incredibly intelligent. He's at MIT, Cornell University. You think that's a charlatan? Fucking retards.
Yeah.
All right, now
Yes, it
listen
is.
here. I'm finally gonna finish with the conclusion from the meta-analysis that, as GHC admitted, passed peer review. And there we go. The fact that the exact replications of BEM experiments produce comparable, statistically significant results implies generality.
God
Hello?
wills it.
God wills it.
Is Sugar talking?
No.
He was.
What happened?
I guess
I hit him with
somebody
my
from
psychic
the-
blast.
Yeah,
That was a
somebody
big
was
one.
telepathically telling him to, turn his microphone off. Is it just me, or is Sugar like on it? It almost seems like every time he comes on mic now, he's getting increasingly more tied to this crazy nonsense, and he's getting a lot more agitated about it as well. I wonder if there's some stuff going on there behind the scenes.
Well, he's probably doesn't feel too well about getting wrecked all the time.
Well, maybe it's the coronavirus that he says he's got.
He sounds better.
Wait. I'm sorry. Did you? I cut out? Did you hear what I read? Did you hear what I read?
Not one thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we
The
don't particularly
conclusion to the
care about
meta-analysis.
everything.
All right. This is proof of a human ability to perceive future events. That's what they say. That's the conclusion of the meta-analysis. Published. There you go.
Is what?
Go
right.
on.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was really not interesting. But
I read
cool
it.
none-
I read it, and then I was cut out. All right, it was a whole paragraph in very
Do you
scientific
think
terms.
that,
In very scientific terms, they said BIM's research has been replicated and is good. There you go.
That's what BEM found, is that BEM's research is good?
He did not do that meta-analysis.
Yeah, actually,
not
he
by
did.
him.
He
He
did.
did.
No.
Look, dude. Please look at the authors. It's literally by BEM. He's A1 author.
Sorry.
He is one of them. Yes. Soldi and Duggan. All right, whatever. Get wrecked. Still.
I'll get you, my pretty. Okay, that's enough.
So I'm curious. Do you think that we could use this telepathy? Well, actually, I guess I guess technically it's pornographic precognition is what it is. And I don't know if anybody actually read what they were studying, but they were studying whether or not you could perceive erotic imagery behind a curtain after answering some questions.
Yes, we all know, Kathleen. I'm tired of you saying things that
And,
everyone already knew 30 minutes ago.
Sugar, I'm not really interested in what you
You
particularly
shouldn't.
are
You've literally
trying
all you've done in this conversation, Kathleen, is enter it late and
like
then
I said,
regurgitate
Sugar,
information from
Sugar, none of that.
minutes
Come
and
on.
minutes ago.
Yeah, not really interested in that, Sugar. More interested actually in just why you've in a room full of 30 adults talking coolly and calmly and collectively about a subject, you felt the need to spurg out for now what is going on 2 hours since I left the room, and you've been
And we don't
spurging
need it back. Like, we just need to talk about this. It's not
I might
enough.
have started it. I
Yeah.
apologize.
JJ once again confirmed the destroyer of worlds.
Socrates, read your DMs. for fuck's sake.
I'm also going to make a friendly suggestion that we don't say Spurgat anymore.
Yeah, it's ableist.
That's true.
Spaz is okay though.
Well,
Hmm.
probably have
Say freak the fuck out.
probably people with Asperger's in here.
Oh, totally
Absolutely.
do. So spaz.
I'm not trying to call you out, Kathleen.
Spaz is also one of those.
I think
terms.
I think I said spurg out.
It's like
yes.
short for spastic. What do you think spastic means?
Right.
Gotta
Just say
twitch.
freak the fuck out.
Yeah.
There's like no word Sock is gonna let us use.
What?
Don't really think that I've ever heard anybody attempt to connect the word Spurg with Asperger's.
Are you
That's
fucking
what-
joking?
That's what it means.
What?
Spurg is short for Asperger's. It means have a Asperger breakdown, right? Because sometimes people with Asperger's, they
Overstimulated.
they can be
What?
overstimulated and they, you know. And so
What-
anyway,
well,
when you
I'm-
say somebody
It's not
spurgs
just
out,
Asperger's. It's people with autism.
Correct.
In general.
Where do you think the word spurg comes from?
I don't fucking know, JJ.
Why would you be incredulous? It comes from Asperger's.
I mean, just didn't I didn't make a connection there.
Yeah, she just
No, but
realized.
the point is, why would you be incredulous about it?
Why does it matter why I was incredulous about it?
No, it's just-
Curiosity.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I mean, you say nothing but ridiculous things all day long, so I
That's
feel,
false.
you know.
Look, even if it's the case that I only say ridiculous things, it's just ridiculous to like see the
Yeah.
obvious connection to Asperger's and think, all right, well, that might be the case. Or I'm sorry, in your case, no, that can't be it. That's not.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
Spurg
moving
is
on.
actually southern slang for spurgus.
Yeah, it's like somebody saying the N word isn't racist, and someone saying, "Why would you think that?" And they're like, "What do you mean?"
Correct.
Yeah, that only works if a person actually knew what the word meant. So
yeah,
nice
I'm not
try.
trying to shit on you.
You should though.
I'm not trying to say that you were JHC. I'm not implying that. Is that a Lego helicopter, Skinny Pete?
Oh, this ass Instagram is amazing.
Yeah, she's like the best.
That's not one person.
It is. It's her. She is.
JJ, have you seen what's let me find
Your ass? Yes, I've seen your ass.
No,
Oh.
have you seen Silver Beauty's Instagram? Silverbeauty.jennifer?
Don't know. It sounds kind of familiar though.
This I'm guessing this woman, she's probably in her 50s, maybe late 50s. Just perfectly toned silver hair, and perfect body.
I found an
Let's go to-
archive of like everything Belle Delphine has ever done, including some really, really risque stuff that I didn't realize she
Risque
did.
is good.
Huh?
Risque is good. Risque is good.
Hmm. What were you doing, Kathleen? What were you talking about?
Ooh, there are a lot of great parapsychology studies. This is fascinating.
No more.
Here's Dr. Ian Stevenson, professor of
No
psychiatry at the University of Virginia School of Medicine. He's been researching past life stuff, and he published a study 6 months ago called "Birthmarks and Birth Defects Corresponding to Wounds on Deceased Persons." Whoa!
So what I think you should do, Sugar, right? Since this is obviously a passion of yours, right? Is you should make a Discord server, right? And you should advertise that server as a place for intellectual discussion of the paranormal. And maybe you'll get some like-minded people who actually want to discuss things that are pseudoscience and alternative medicine and things that actually have no effect on the real world, but people think that they do. And maybe you could get like a cult following or something together, and you could convince these people that you're suffering from the coronavirus, but you did Reiki and you cured yourself, and they would all think of you as like a god. And then you could do like a whole Jim Jones thing where you go into like the Argentine jungle and drink the Kool-Aid.
Hold on, guys. Somebody's messaging me saying that calling someone a retard is short for mentally retarded. I'm incredulous. Can somebody fucking back me up?
Well, I don't know if that was a slight towards me, Tom, but I'm going to allow it this time. Next time, there will be repercussions.
Better watch yourself, old Roy.
Oh wow! Not that this is the topic, but they've canceled a bunch of really big technology events just now in San Francisco.
Too many Chinese people.
Probably.
Yeah, too many
Yeah.
SARS cooties.
I'd be.
Wait, is
I'd be,
cooties okay?
I'd be pretty
No.
scared of going anywhere where there were Asian people. Was that racist?
I'm still
Probably.
amazed at the cases and success in Vietnam.
The what?
The cases and recovery rate in Vietnam. There's only been 16 cases in Vietnam, and they've all recovered.
Well, Vietnam did a musical song that was very popular.
I saw that. It's really catchy. Just wash your hands.
They already been through it. They already been through Agent Orange. This coronavirus ain't shit.
But John Oliver is a comedian, so he can't inform, right, JJ?
I wouldn't say
Well,
Wait, are you calling JJ a joke?
JJ said comedians can't inform, like Stephen
I
Colbert.
thought you were making a clever.
Is that what you said? Is that what you said, JJ?
Never said that.
Hold on, JJ. Is it or is it not your position that a comedian has never said anything that's true?
It is not my position.
Interesting. Because then
Wow,
why were
nice backpedal.
Then why were you critiquing the Colbert Report as not informative?
Oh,
you
fuck,
are you-
JJ. You see this corner? It's you.
Are you asking
Yeah, let's
me?
see him square up this contradiction.
Are you asking me what's the second option, Sugar? Is that what you're asking me?
I was simply making a little jib, a little jive.
What's the second option?
I don't know what that means. You were the one that was critiquing the Colbert Report.
I guess by saying that it was jokes and less informative than it was jokes is critiquing. Yes, I was.
That's right. That's right.
And
I can't believe you want to show your face around here anymore, JJ.
I was simply pointing out that the hilariousness of the Vietnam song we all know because of John Oliver, another comedian who makes a lot of jokes. In fact, most of the things that he informs about, he turns into jokes. There you go.
Uh-huh. Can you tell the jokes from what's true?
Look, I'm not trying to get into this. All right, I was just
Oh, fuck.
poking fun. I was poking fun at your stupid critique of the Colbert Report. That's all.
Hold on. Next time, instead of using your mouth, can you just do it telepathically so we don't have to hear it?
Hey, that's a good idea. Actually, you know what though, and there was a poll done or something in the early 2000s that said majority of Americans between age like 22 to 35 or something felt that the only honest and reliable source of news on television was The Daily Show.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
This is true. My favorite shows are Bill Maher, John Oliver, love Love comedians that also inform.
Ooh,
I consider
think
myself.
you-
I consider myself an informative comedian. A big fan.
I
of
would
it.
actually agree with half of that, but maybe not the half you think.
I think that Sugar, I would have assumed that your favorite, TV shows would have been like X-Files, Fringe, stuff like that.
Yeah, in general chat today, someone named Shay said, "Ooh, I'm gonna now try Reiki. This is why I do it. This is why I do it. How many people are you guys actually affecting with all your debating? How many lives are you actually changing? I'm changing lives
6.
here.
6.
3.
I have changed the lives of
30.
close to 1,500 people.
Yeah, JHC convinced me of epistemic anti-realism.
Why would you do that to JJ? Why would
7
you do
people.
that to JJ?
7
Wait,
people
can
and
we-
1
can we-
meta-analysis.
Can we consider that helping though? What he did to JJ?
Yeah, I feel much better.
I convinced a whole lot of people not to believe in pseudoscience and psyops and things like that. So I think I changed a lot of people's lives for the better.
Oh, you convinced.
I actually, if I don't meme, I think one of the best things that I've done so far in Discord has been convincing. Ask yourself that trans people aren't deluded, because
Aww.
he's had debates with people on his side of the fence, which is like the libertarian right, about the trans issue. He's been defending trans people.
That's good.
Cool.
So I think that's 10 or 11 people.
Now if you could just convince him to stop promoting veganism.
I'm not going to do that.
An actual nutritious diet, that would be great.
Don't fall for the bait.
I'm all baited out.
By
Oh,
the way,
that's
I watched
adorable.
a video. I watched a video today. Do you guys know what those little polymer balls are that you can buy that you dump in water and they suck the water up around them and turn into little plastic balls?
Orbeez.
So I watched a guy, a French YouTuber or whatever. He filled up his bathtub, and then he put like 5 boxes of the Orbeez into the bathtub, and then he tried to drain them down the bathtub, and what ended up happening is it clogged the entire city water system with them. They were like popping out of the drains in the street and in other neighbors' toilets and everything like that. It's fucking fantastic.
People have filled their entire pools with those things.
Yeah.
But why?
YouTube views.
Yeah.
I have to ask it again, but why?
Yeah, right. Monetization. My bad. That's actually the reason why.
I don't know what Chupacabra just posted, but the girl in the picture is highly attractive. And that's all that really matters, isn't it?
The guy wearing a gas mask next to her isn't interesting at all.
Not really. No,
Okay.
I'm just looking at the girl. She's got a very forceful face.
Yeah, I'm wondering what's happening here.
Matt Getz. Oh, well, it's got to be something ridiculous considering it's Matt Getz.
Oh. Yeah. I think he's my state representative, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's
Me-
horrible.
Me too. He was honest on a couple of issues where he opposed Trump, which I thought was interesting. This was recent, actually.
Hey,
I
Jade,
think,
start playing chess.
I think Republicans are truly tiring of defending Donald Trump.
Let's start playing speed chess.
Speed chess? All right.
Yeah.
While on speed.
All right. Thanks for. Okay, I like that. I like that idea more. I don't have speed.
How does one even get speed?
Alphabet,
Last
Dream
time I was
Alexa.
I had the opportunity to play. All right, you got me on that one. Last time I had the opportunity was like on darknet markets, but I don't know if that's around anymore. I think like they're
If
all
you
closed down.
go get some Sudafed and a Teflon pan and break up the Sudafed and pour it into the Teflon pan and then turn the thing on medium heat and add some brake fluid cleaner, some brake degreaser, and stir it all up and let it turn into a paste with the heat and scrape it all up and put it in a pipe and smoke it. You'll have stovetop crank, which is basically speed. There you
All
go.
right, let me just write this down. Fit in my things not to do notebook.
Wait, can I read you one of the funnier pro Bernie stories? This is a headline of an article.
Ooh.
The title of this article is, this is all in quotes. Oh, not all. Quote, as I was being eaten, I was thinking about my insurance, end quote. Woman who lost her face in bear attack on why she's voting for Bernie Sanders.
Oh my god.
She's literally getting her face eaten off and worrying about her health insurance. Oh god, this is gonna cost me.
This is the most dystopian thing I've heard in at least 4 hours.
You know, there seems to be a growing trend with people that are recognizing that while Bernie Sanders may have some good ideas, he's not a team player, and we need team players moving forward.
Who cares what some guy in a basement has to say?
Well, I wasn't really talking about guys in basements. I was more talking about, people that actually get paid to analyze this shit. But, same difference.
I think
Okay, so guys
Bernie's.
in basement.
I think Bernie's a team player for the millions of middle class people that are getting shafted. All right, I don't think Joe Biden's being a very good team player for them. All right,
Joe Biden voted against me in March.
I don't think Joe Biden. I don't think Joe Biden was being a team player when he voted for the war in Iraq, all those shitty trade deals that sold out.
Well, you don't want to go that
workers.
route because
That's
Bernie
right.
Sanders like fucked up with like Kosovo and shit.
Yeah.
Then there
what's
was
the-
this famous there was this famous like interview
Kosovo to the war
about
in Iraq.
Israel where
That is
he said
absurd.
that Palestinians should not be given Israeli citizenship because that would quote destroy Israel. Quote.
How dare you compare these minor positions to a $6 trillion war that cost what 20,000 American
It's
lives?
not like you're right. I'll agree, Sugar, that the bigger war is like worse, but Bernie's fucked up.
So
Big time. Like, the Kosovo bombing is not something to like sweep under the rug.
How dare
There's
you
nothing
compare the
wrong with
Kosovo
the,
bombings to a $6 trillion occupation of a country? It's ridiculous.
There is nothing wrong with the
How
Iraq
dare
War.
you
What are
state
talking
facts,
about?
Socrates?
There's nothing wrong with the Iraq War. What are you talking about? That was a economic boon. We made money.
You know what we could have done with that $6 trillion? We could have bought
totally
everybody.
done.
We could have bought every person in the United States of America a mansion with $6 trillion. And you're gonna sit here and tell me that was a good use
You're
of
right.
our
We
money?
could have got everyone
Fuck
those
you.
conductive copper plates that we could put on the ground so we could charge ourselves by standing on top of that.
You could have furnished everyone's house with earthing mats.
We could have
Yeah,
passed two.
you know
we
what
could have
else?
passed
Yeah,
two
we
two
could have
new green deals.
bought
We
like
could have passed
one
two green deals with that money.
solid platinum toilet or something like that.
Why would the $1 trillion
no,
help pass the
listen,
Green Deal?
The Green New Deal. That's the cost of it. It's like
money
$3
is
trillion. We could have
money
passed
doesn't
two of
exist.
those with the war in Iraq.
Why
Two
do we
of
Yeah,
them.
need why do we need two of them, you idiot?
We
Yeah,
don't. It
money
just shows.
doesn't.
We don't. It just shows what a waste of money the war in Iraq was.
You don't know
Right,
anything.
Yeah, money's not real. It doesn't exist. So the idea that you're worried over the price tag of a war is just hilarious.
You're just speaking. No one has anything to say to that. You're just gonna let Kathleen say that.
Yeah, because everyone knows that it's correct.
We're not taking the bait, Sugar, is the idea.
Good. I'm glad you admitted it. Then I will not.
Everybody knows that money isn't real. It comes out of thin air, and it doesn't matter how much we spend. Everybody
You hear
already
that,
knows
Kathleen? No one's gonna take your debate on this.
this
Sugar's on
isn't
team
good.
no bait now.
Oh,
See,
well,
this is how you
isn't
teach
good.
Sugar.
This
You have
is,
to embrace him with love.
This is the real deal, Sugar. But I tell you what, Sugar, the next time I need some kind of analysis of how to, telepathically convince my son to, go clean his room, I will definitely come to you for advice.
Not to. Oh, yeah.
If telepathy exists, why the fuck do we have phones?
It's all our fault. It's all our fault. He can look.
Now we're into the semantics of what you mean by telepathy.
Shit. Scarlet comes
Can we
in
not?
with this like fucking wrecking ball. Just.
Are you deciding to talk at a lower word per minute, like over time, Kathleen?
Yeah, you're hitting like the wolf god level of input, but we're not really.
I was at
See
my
that
medicine.
right there? That was wolf god. That was a wolf, just like an utterance, just like a guttural utterance.
A gutterance.
It's actually pronounced an utteral, by the way.
I took my medicine like 45
Okay,
minutes
well
ago.
then
so
just
it's probably kicking in.
sleep, Kathleen, and sleep. Sleep.
Come give me a
Yes.
foot massage and I'll go to sleep, Tom.
Not it.
Joe Biden voted for NAFTA, the WTO, and if all that wasn't enough, he is so dementia gaffe prone that last night during his acceptance speech, he got his wife confused with his sister in front of the whole country.
That wasn't an accident, Sugar.
It's a fair mistake. Fair mistake.
Well, I mean, Sugar, we can forgive him. I mean, you're a young person and you confuse science for pseudoscience all the time. So, you know, we
Oh,
can
hell
forgive
yeah.
him for that.
Oh, you guys want me to order as concrete? I'm
Yep.
gonna drive through. All right, here we go.
I always cringe when he does this.
Michael's puckering.
Yeah, let me get one of them strawberry shakes with no whipped cream or cherry. Yeah, that's it.
Whipped cream.
Whipped cream.
Alright, thanks.
She's gonna be fucking surprised when she sees your face pull up.
You should have said 1 minute.
One second.
1 second.
If you check general chat, you will see Joe Biden absolutely destroy a gang leader by the name of Corn Pop.
You sound so enthusiastic.
This is a joke. This is a joke. Just watch the video. It's hilarious.
Oh, what year is that from?
2019, probably? It's recent.
Oh,
Oh no.
yeah, it was a good thing because I just got unfrozen. Now I can catch up. Thanks, buddy.
This is actually really cringe. I'm watching this thing. I can't listen to him do deep southern black guy voice.
Is he code switching?
Biden is, yeah. It's
Jesus.
it's too much. I can't do it.
Oh yeah, Goose is the guy who's a Darth acolyte.
Yeah, to a certain degree.
Oh, Goose.
Yeah, man.
Hey, I didn't start anything.
Hey,
I
Goose.
need you
is
to
there-
take a mile between you and your mic, buddy.
Yeah, if you could turn on the sensitivity a bit for us.
Better?
No.
Just
Hold up.
I have him turned down to 69 and it's working for me.
Now is it better?
I turned you down, so I don't know anymore. Someone else has
It
to
sounds like you switch it from suck to blow. Can you switch it back?
Suck.
Yeah, it's definitely none of that. That's your fault, Tom.
I know JJ got it, but
I'm back.
Wait,
Hey.
that's a Star Balls or whatever, right?
Fun's over, guys. Time to go home.
yeah, you had it until you said star balls, and then you just.
It should have been called Star Balls.
What's it actually called?
Spaceballs.
Spaceballs.
Spaceballs. Yeah, I like Star Balls better.
That was the working title.
But
No, the working title was Blue Ball Harvest.
That's not true.
No.
I want to say something real quick.
1 second. 1 second.
Yeah, when you engage in that type of behavior, you really undermine Helena's efforts towards making a better community. So I want you to keep that in mind every time you overtalk, you condescend, you mock fringe ideas, whilst we're having a discussion, right? Helena's trying the best that she can
Who's he
to
talking
make
to?
I have
all of
no
you
idea.
fuckers. All of you fuckers.
What's the
Oh.
discussion?
I'm pretty sure that Helena supports a healthy amount of
Every
cringe.
time you fuckers engage in your tactics, you're
Maybe I'm
undermining
wrong.
her efforts. Keep that in mind.
Don't
Okay,
think I
thank
am.
you.
How's it going, Concrete? Haven't seen
You
you,
mean
in
like-
a long time.
You mean like
Is
earlier
that
when you were
Johnny?
talking?
It's Goose.
Goose.
Oh, he
Yeah,
doesn't remember you, Goose.
That's okay. It's been a while.
Goose, concrete finds you forgettable.
Wait a second, Goose. I have seen you. You're from politics.
Yes, sir.
Long time. What's going on? I know you had another name. I know your
Oh
icon
no,
looks more familiar.
it's concrete like reunion hour.
Can we get the tag on him immediately?
Yeah, see that right there? That's unnecessary.
No, let's rebuild Concrete's memory.
That's unnecessary. Unnecessary. Anyway, Goose, how you doing?
Been good. How are you?
Can we rebuild my memory? I've lost it somewhere.
Look at us, please hit it.
Yeah.
We can
Around here
rebuild him.
somewhere.
We have $60.
Wait, Tom, what did you order?
Strawberry
Forgot
shake.
now.
Wait, Doobie is a Patreon? What?
Yeah.
I am suddenly very suspicious.
Of what?
Don't worry about it.
What if we promise that he is?
Don't worry about it.
What are you suspicious of?
Promise that he is.
Why would you say it if you didn't want us to worry about it?
Don't worry about it.
It's like one of those statements you tell people that has the opposite effect, like "You're safe with me."
It might be the case that he's not one right this second, but he was recently.
He would come in here more, but every time Doobie comes in here, he gets absolutely crushed.
You see, there is. I do believe there is a conspiracy between Discords. And this confirms that.
What kind?
Still figuring that one out.
Well,
Oh, good.
You know about the pedophile ring, right?
Not quite sure what. That.
Oh, never mind, never mind,
You mean
never
like
mind.
Epstein?
Epstein.
Yeah, Epstein. Yeah.
Or who was that other guy? That was Scotsman. I forget what his actual
Bruce
name.
Willis. Matt Bell.
Yeah, this is
Matt
whack.
Bell.
Harvey Weinstein.
This is whack. JC
Ja-
is whack.
Oh, that guy, that guy from the Wonder Years. What's that guy's name?
Bunch of money embezzlement around here.
Is my mic working?
Yes, sir.
You're real quiet. Can you get any louder?
Mic working?
All right, the joke has stopped being even close to charming by now.
That's a lie.
Come on. It's a bit old.
That's a fucking lie.
Shut up, Boomer.
That's why I don't like say "oh fuck" like every 5 seconds anymore.
This server has mellowed out a surprising amount.
Thank
yeah,
you
don't speak
for
too soon.
noticing. Nope,
Yeah.
it has, and it's staying that way.
Yeah,
You're out of
thanks.
your mind,
Yeah, I
Alex.
kind of like it like this.
Thank God for
It's-
Helena's work. There's this guy like Concrete who wants to come by and ruin everything that she's done.
You're out of your mind, donkey dick.
I
Look,
mean,
Concrete, we know
GG
why-
hasn't entered the chat room
Wait,
yet, so
Concrete, we
is
trust
Donkey
you to
Dick-
be pessimistic. It's okay, but
Is Donkey Dick an insult or is that good?
I'm not sure.
it depends.
In my case, it would most
Oh,
definitely be
wait
a
a minute.
compliment.
That's a joke.
Wait a minute, Concrete is back. He can. You think I forgot about those 2 questions I was asking you, buddy?
Oh
Wait, did
yeah.
Tom just realize that I got back? What the fuck?
Come on.
Donkey Dick, you gotta help out your partner.
That's what he
Look at,
Your boss.
look, guys.
Wait,
I'm showing you guys how to deal with Concrete. Look, he's completely shut down by 2 questions that are yes or no.
Gosh, this guy is so delusional.
Am
Go
I?
for it, Tom.
Okay, by outside of field of view, do you mean the entirety of what someone can see?
When I think of the
Yes or
concept
no?
of outside the field of view, are you asking me? Or are you asking me to represent the position of the author of the article?
Whatever you think their interpretation is.
Okay,
Well, I
great.
mean, whatever you
So
think they mean by that.
Yeah, great, no problem. So outside the field of view would be something that I cannot see, either fully or through my periphery.
You can't see it at all. It's not possible, right?
Not seen at all.
Right, because it's not possible because the field of view encompasses everything that you could possibly see.
All right, good, agree.
Right, so how do you reconcile something when they say outside the field of view but seen from the corner of their... And that's all it takes, boys. That's it.
That's far from what they said.
You're done.
Because they
Oh
didn't
fuck!
say
It's
that.
over. He's done.
Let's stop.
Wait,
giving
what
a
is this in
chance.
reference
Come on.
to?
Silence is not like concession.
Okay. What is this? What is the context of this? What?
Shut up.
What is this in reference?
Shut up.
Stop.
What? So, Concrete was talking about an article earlier, and he was referencing a term they used, field of view, and it's Concrete's belief that if something is outside of someone's field of view, they can't see it at all. However, in the article, it directly follows up after that with saying, what was it, Tom?
Outside of the field of view, but seen by the corner of their eye.
The corner of their eye, right? So Concrete, all that is all that I think what they realize is that maybe your definition of field of view doesn't match up with the article, and that's where the misunderstanding is.
No. His interpretation of what mean, because if that's what they meant, then it would be incoherent to say outside their field of view, but seen through the corner of their eye.
Yeah, it'd be a really bad article.
I do think it's a misuse, but I don't understand why this is important.
This
Well,
is his
that's
entire.
because you weren't there, maybe.
Yeah, this ended up in Concrete leaving, so we didn't get to finish the conversation.
I mean,
I am confused why this bothers him. I mean, it's not that big of a disagreement. Unless
No.
I'm
So we were
missing
talking
something
about
big.
ESP, right? Like extrasensory perception. That's what we were talking about. And Concrete thinks that if it's outside the field of view, then it's not seen at all, and therefore there's some extra sensor that's perceiving the gaze of someone.
He
But
said that
it's,
there was energy being transferred from one to the other, the one looking at.
Well,
sure, but the
I would
article
assume that it
supports-
was
the
referring.
article supports the contrary belief that it's not an extrasensory perception. It's based on gaze and signs of where others are gazing at. and
Always the
picking up-
case.
Right, things like that. And so I think Concrete was trying to say that the article agreed with him, and maybe that wasn't the case.
Well,
Most certainly wasn't the case.
There are cases in which somebody will say they have a bad feeling or something. This happens in war all the time, where somebody will get a bad feeling, get the heck out of there, and then something bad happened immediately after. But that's not to say that the reason they get this, quote, bad feeling, unquote, is because of normal sense perception.
Well, that's what I think is happening, is normal sense perception.
And it seems that if you were to make a claim like that, it would be appreciated if you were to forward where, or like what besides sensory perception would lead someone to do that.
Yes. Then you want to Google Daryl Bem, right? He was one of the forefront researchers on parapsychology, which is this phenomena. There you go, buddy. That's what we've been debating and talking about.
Well, also think about this. So, if you've usually this is referred to in the context of war, because this is when it comes up a lot. If you have been around shell fire, you can feel the rumble of a shell before it hits you, and that might lead to, quote, bad feeling. There are other reasons besides extrasensory perception that one might get a feeling about something being off.
What you
Right, but the
described was
rumble of a
sensory
shell.
perception.
Yeah, the rumble
It's
of a shell
sensory.
is a sensory perception.
I take the woke
Right, that's my
position
point.
that all perception is extrasensory.
Whenever you
Amen.
start off by saying, I take the woke position, I know to not take that position. Wait, is Concrete there? You can answer, bud? You said go for it, and then I did it, and then you just disappeared. You scoffed at me like you would you're like, bring it on, bud. And then I asked you one of the two questions, and then you disappeared.
Concrete, don't tell me you're sitting over there having bad beliefs again and keeping them all to yourself.
He's just pouting at this point.
It could be actually that Concrete's right, and by field of view, they actually did mean the entirety of what someone could possibly see with their eyes. But they're just such dumbasses that they just started using it in a different way later on in the article because they're fucking idiots.
It's pretty weird.
Yeah, sometimes headlines and like the intro paragraph are written by like editors, you know, copy editors and stuff.
Oh, BB, don't post that. I don't want to see coronavirus shit right now.
There is a way where you can reconcile it, Concrete. It just kind of has to like invalidate that entire term in the paper, and you just have to be agnostic as to what the fuck they even mean by it.
Which would suck because that's what you told me to Google.
Right. Yeah, it would suck because that's the centerpiece of your position and justification for why ESP is real.
Why is okay? I want to know why this is significant. Say it's real, say it's false. Why is it significant?
What do you mean? Why is it significant? Like,
say humans have some
like,
sixth sense.
are you trying to point out that like in this Discord channel we're not saving lives? Granted, so what?
So this is much ado about a nothing.
Oh, Goose is a fucking freak, man. It's not another sense. There's no sense, right? Perception with no sense.
I think it's just that Goose doesn't know why we're paying attention to this. It's because we were having a previous conversation about it and we didn't get to finish the conversation. That's why we're bringing it up now. There was an entire conversation before this one that led up to this. So I understand why you may be confused, but it's not helpful right now.
Goose, we're not saving lives in here. So what?
No, I get it, but
so what?
No, I mean, Concrete's upset. You guys are pissed off, and I don't understand why.
What? So what? You don't understand. You don't understand. So what?
Goose, you're very familiar with people being angry. You follow Darth. It's fine.
Nothing
fair
turns
enough,
on
but-
this. So what?
Jesus Christ.
So stop
Okay,
going crazy, Goose.
I'm just gonna step out and
Yeah,
watch
dude.
the dumpster fire burn.
Oh God.
That's rude.
Hey, listen to this
That's
for a
not
second.
rude.
Shh.
Don't tell me what to listen to.
I learned a lot.
Oh God.
Ready?
I learned that it makes a difference. This was the diving board area, and I was one of the guards, and they weren't allowed to. There was a 3-meter board, and if you fell off sideways, you landed on the darn cement over there.
What is his
Cornpop
voice?
was a bad dude.
Joe Biden.
This
isn't
is
it?
Joe
And he
Biden.
ran a bunch of bad boys.
Oh.
And I did. And back in those days, to show how things have changed, one of the things you had to use, if you used pomade in your hair, you had to wear a bathing cap. And so he was up
Amen.
on the board, wouldn't listen to me. I said, hey, Esther, you, off the board, or I'll come up and drag you off. Well, he came off, and he said, I'll meet you outside. My car, these were all public housing behind it.
I can't listen to that. That's appropriation.
So embarrassing.
Yeah, the sun used to hit my legs and it would turn blonde.
I love how incoherent it is. It's the best thing ever.
Corn
This is ridiculous. I cannot believe he's going to be our nominee. This is crazy.
It is crazy.
Bernie's
at
got
these-
a chance.
Look at these black kids around him. They're scared for their lives.
They're confused as fuck.
Yeah, this only happens because JJ doesn't.
Shifty eyes.
Why is his shirt and button so far?
He's sweating, man.
When in Rome.
The psychic staring effect, also known as scopaesthesia, was first written about and published by British psychologist in the 1989. Yada yada.
See, this is why we talk about it, Goose, because fucking
Controversial.
Sugar constantly brings this shit up.
I didn't bring any of this up. Controversial. And then there's
skip over that
There's
part.
been a bunch of studies. There's been a bunch of studies in the 2000s, also controversial. No one knows, yada yada, by a guy named
But it's real.
Rupert Sheldrake. No, it's very controversial and ambiguous.
Kind of. Titchener performed a series of laboratory experiments that found only negative results. I guess if that's controversial.
What do you mean? Look up what's his name?
I'm reading the article
look up
that you were reading from. When you said controversial. You skipped
Rupert
over his only
Sheldrake.
negative results.
Rupert Sheldrake. Look it up.
Yeah, you know who Rupert
There you go.
Sheldrake is, don't you, JC?
Yeah, I'm telling him to
No.
look it up.
Oh, he's a
giving him-
kookball.
No, he's not at all. What do you mean? He's a very
Oh,
distinguished.
My bad.
Oh,
My bad.
was Daryl whatever a kookball? Was he kookball?
Look, do you
Who,
really
Daryl
want
Bell?
me?
Yes.
Do you want me to read what the article that you're reading from says about Sheldrake?
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
not. You want me to read it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Sheldrake summarized his case in the Journal of Consciousness Studies, saying that he found a hit rate of 53.1%, so better than random. Sheldrake's experiments were criticized for using sequences with relatively long runs and many alternations instead of truly randomized patterns, which should have mirrored the natural patterns that people who guess and gamble would tend to follow. In 2005, Michael Shermer expressed concern over confirmation bias and experimenter bias in the test, writing after another skin conductance test in 2004 showed a negative result. Low back and Bierman concluded that the staring paradigm is not the easily replicable paradigm that it claimed to be. That doesn't sound good. Sounds bad.
Well, that wasn't the article I'm reading.
That was the one that you were reading from.
No, I was reading from Curiosity magazine.
Were you reading the Wikipedia article, Psychic Staring Effect?
Nope.
Don't you lie to me right now.
I'm not. I was reading an article in Curiosity magazine.
Okay, well
Which
they stole the opening line then from the Wikipedia article.
Or the Wikipedia article.
Yeah, we know that's possible, JJ.
All right, no, that's
Sure,
fine.
sure.
I could have been wrong, Sugar. I'll read your article. All right.
Sugar,
Well-
what did you research?
Just the history of the psychic staring effect. It's very inconclusive. I'm not sitting here and pretending that the evidence for this is as strong as, say, undeniable things like Reiki, but it's very controversial and there's nothing conclusive. A 2009 study attempted to knock Sheldrake down a notch and basically gave a scientific nod of agreement to the original Titchener article.
Wait, Sugar, you think it's a competition between two different phenomena?
I don't think that there's a very good threshold of evidence for the psychic staring effect. No.
Sugar, what do you think the underlying mechanism is for some power to transfer from someone's hands to another person's body? What do you think that underlying mechanism?
So don't get me wrong. You know, you're talking to someone.
Pheromone.
You're talking.
What is the underlying mechanism?
I would say energy sense or ESP.
So since energy can transfer from one person to another through someone intentionally doing so through their hands, you don't think that there's some energy transfer such that somebody will feel someone looking at them when they're being stared at? You don't think there's some energy transfer?
I would absolutely hypothesize this is possible. But once
All
again,
right, so
I
why
was
don't
just
you
saying the
think? One second,
scientific
bro.
evidence.
Wow,
One second,
Sugar's
bro.
more skeptical than concrete.
1 second, bro. Why don't you think that they're associated, given they're very similar in nature? Why do you think one would be more scientifically verifiable than
Scientifical.
another?
Similar.
Why is this happening, yo?
Hold on, I want to hear
Why?
concrete. Wait, please, I
Why
want to
does
hear
this
concrete debate
stupid-ass,
Sugar.
dumbass, fucking piece of shit get to overtalk all the time?
Similar.
Why?
Everyone, shut up. Concrete, please continue.
Why?
I am very interested in this hypothesis. I'm interested in energetic things, NESP
Concrete,
things.
please
I'm just
continue.
saying, as it stands now, concrete, the scientific evidence isn't great for this phenomenon. That's all. I'm just saying, as it stands now.
But Sugar, it would be the same thing you would. Or so what you're saying is that it's basically the same thing happening with someone's hands as is happening with their eyes, and you think that one is more skeptical than the other.